Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I will call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. sharp, and I'll ask everybody to stand for the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all of us command, cattle Since stand on Canada, stand on.
Are there any additions to the agenda this morning?
From administration, Your Worship.
Council? Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Kamana, thank you very much. All in favor? All in favor. Bill, are you online?
In favor.
Thank you very much for that. Any corrections or amendments to the February 7th,
You hear me?
2024? Yes, I can. Thank you, Bill. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Any corrections or amendments to the February 7th, 2024 regular meeting of council minutes? Is there a member of council that would like to adopt those, please? Councillor Evans, thank you very much. All in favor? Bill?
In favor.
Thank you very much. That is carried. We have no proclamations or public hearings this morning. We do have two delegations. First up is our RCMP Stats 7.1. We have Ryan Hoopner this morning. Good morning and welcome again. Stealthy.
Yeah, I like to think that. All right, good morning. Steph's already read. It's unfortunately can't be here this morning. He's actually doing interviews, our office manager position. The office manager moved to the island. So that was open and we're interviewing for that this morning. So that's where he's at.
Is your mic on? Just is the green
It's
light on?
green. Do I have to talk real close?
Perfect.
Just like that.
No, you're okay. Just wanted to ensure we do have people online.
All right, so I'll just do a quick run through the stats. That is our Drayton Valley stats, which continue to look really good. Green's good, red's bad. But keep in mind with these ones that this is just comparing January of this year to January of last year. So at the beginning of the year, we just get a small little like glimpse. So you can see that our persons crimes are down. Overall property crime was down. We did have one more motor vehicle theft, and that is a little uptick we've seen. We had 4 trucks stolen in January, which is an uptick to what we normally have per month. A little bit of that is that -40 week where everybody's left idling. So just a reminder, if you're going to choose to idle, have some sort of secure idle. Make sure it's locked up because still about 50% of our stolen vehicles, especially in winter, are left running. So we've sent that messaging out, but just continue to send that out just to lock it up. Other than that, as you can see, our theft unders are down, which is nice. And overall, our stats are showing really well still. I'm not sure if we have, we don't, but just for comparison, like we're down 26% and our district overall is staying steady, kind of at an even. It was down 1% in January. So Drayton is still seeing a tick down in our crime trend right now, which is positive. The only other notes that I got from staff Raditz is we mentioned going to pre-charge. So we've been running that since kind of October, November, where Crown now reviews our files and approves charges. And that's going really well. In fact, we got a note from our senior prosecutor saying that one of our members was one of the best files he's read in his 24 years as a prosecutor. So good on one of our young guys there. Yeah, so that transition has gone smooth. I think it's gone a lot smoother than most thought it was going to go, which is good. And the only other thing is a reminder, we have our town hall for Drayton Valley next week, Wednesday, February 28th, 1900 or 7 o'clock p.m. at CETC. So anyone of council is welcome to attend. Myself and staff Raditz will be there. And we've invited all of the community as well to come and we'll do a short presentation and we can answer questions.
Perfect.
That's all I got. I'll take
Thank
questions.
you very much for that. Yeah, I think that the ladies sent out a calendar invite, so it's in all of our calendars for next week to attend that. And thank you for the stats. Do we have any questions this morning for Ryan? Councillor Evans, go ahead.
Of course, I'm curious, the other CC, is that criminal code?
Yeah,
Only 156%. I thought I should ask about that maybe.
yeah. So I asked staff Rads about that just as we were leaving, and I actually, I'll be honest, I haven't dug into what that would be. I mean, it's not person's crime, it's not property crime. So I'm not sure what that stat would be. It'd probably be more like our cause disturbance minor infractions. And I wish I had the other sheet in front of me because that I could tell you actual numbers. That could be just like 4 or 5 more calls would suddenly bump that right up. Just because we're just looking at January right now. Yeah, it can't be that great because overall we're still seeing a 27% decrease. So it's got to be a very small number of calls for another. It hasn't digged our average. So yeah. It does not look the best though. 156%. Yeah.
Councillor Gamana?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So a couple of years ago, I think, crime was a big issue where it was going up and up and up.
Mhm.
But for the last couple of years, it's been excellent that, going down last year and then this year, 27%. That's fantastic. I was just wondering, I know, you guys are superheroes and you're doing your thing out there, but what else, helping, right? I know the court system hasn't changed a whole lot yet, it's getting there. But, what's this positive, you would attribute to?
That's a great question because I think staff Raditz and I, we've talked about how we'd love to take credit for it, but often crime does go in trends and kind of goes up and down. And as much as I'd like to say that, hey, we're doing amazing, I think our officers do amazing work. But if we're going to take credit for it now, then we have to eat it when it goes back up. So, but I think it is an increased attention to prolific offenders. We've really focused on that. That's been part of our annual police priority here for the last 4 years, as we have focused every year on prolific offender management and sort of trying to hit, as we've always talked about, our crime is done by a small percentage of people. We really tried to focus on that. And last year, a large number of those people went to jail and have been in jail. I know a couple that have just recently got out, as recent as in January here and February. So we're focusing on putting them back in jail, to be honest. Maybe they're changed, but our focus will be to ensure that they're abiding by their conditions. But yeah, I think it's mostly, we had a good year for offender management and certain people being in custody. We've also seen the province put in some money into our district crime reduction teams. And those are now teams that have been run for about 4 or 5 years. They take some time to get some traction and starting to put individuals in jail a little bit more. And I think the team that comes out of Leduc and the team that comes out of Grand Prairie, they've done a good job as well.
Excellent. In any case, thank you very much.
Councillor McGee?
Morning, Ryan.
Morning.
Ryan, I'm a voracious reader of the Free Press. So the last 2 pages of the Free Press, though, are the RCMP briefs. And I find them startlingly amazing. That's the kind of work that you guys are up to and work that you have to do. And so I applaud you for that. But what I was curious about is that I read through it. Walk me through, okay, have you, and I have you in custody. Now we're going to wait for somebody to come on the telephone to tell us something and what to do. Can you tell me how that all works? Is it a clothed guy, or does he work hard, or who is that guy?
So you're asking about our judicial interim release process, I suppose, is what you're.
It happens every time.
Yeah.
They just phone in and say, yeah.
That's correct. So when we arrest somebody, we basically are left with 2 options. As an officer, we can release them on a piece of paper. If they don't meet a certain criteria where we feel that they'd attend court, or it's been a repetition, or it's a serious enough offense, we'll put them in front of what's called a justice of the peace. And so the justice of the peace sits in Edmonton. There's a office that runs 16 hours a day in Edmonton, and if not, there's a 24 office in Calgary where they have justice of the peace's work full time. I can't speak to how you qualify to be a justice of the peace, but I imagine you have to have some sort of criminal background or lawyer background, not criminal background, hopefully, but law background. So we submit our paperwork. There's a prosecutor it's not one of our local prosecutors. There's a prosecutor based out of an office in Edmonton or Calgary that we submit our paperwork to, and then they work with defense counsel who's been assigned to all those cases to determine release. And then they'll present that. Basically, it's a small court hearing to a justice of the peace, not a provincial court judge. And they will determine release. So the release gets completely taken out of our hands. I'm old enough that back when I started, we would be the prosecutor in that hearing as police, but they took that away from us, 10 years ago.
So can that happen within a couple of hours?
No, it normally, just because of the backlog, it has to happen within 24 hours. That's legislation. We have to have that hearing within 24 hours. It normally is about at the 16-hour mark. Yeah. Depending if we've gone to midnight, the Edmonton office is closed between midnight and 8. So lots of hearings will happen suddenly at 8 or 9 in the morning.
And does the defendant get to speak to why I should not be staying here?
The defendant does. So the defendant can choose either to use the counsel that's provided there, or they can represent themselves. Most choose to use the counsel. It's usually their wisest move. So they will have a defense counsel on the hearing with the Crown prosecutor and the justice of the peace.
And we read through it and we see you said, I'll be back in court 8 times, but now we're 9. Are you really promising this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a frustrating process for us. It's actually frustrating for our provincial Crown prosecutors as well, just because that office gets a lot of files and lots of people get released.
And do we keep people long in Drayton Valley? Is it sort of, do you get like 7-day folks?
No, so the moment that hearing's done, we'll then try and transport them out to Edmonton remand if they've been held as quickly as possible. Whether that's us driving them in and out, or if it's during the week, we'll do a sheriff transport request and they pick them up and bring them in.
Okay, I was just really curious of how the process worked, because I read it and I just think, who's the guy on the other end of the phone?
Yeah, it's justice of the peace in Edmonton or Calgary.
And is that part of the Crown pre-charge that you were talking about, or is that something different?
That is different. If we bring them before justice, then pre-charge, there's no pre-charge. Then we charge, and it ends up in front of a prosecutor within that first 6 to 8 hours, and they can determine there, because the prosecutor reads it. When we release ourselves, with a court date down the road, then our file will go to our own provincial crown and they will do the pre-charge and determine what charges they'll accept. We recommend a list of charges and they determine which ones they'll accept and which ones they don't.
Okay, and this is something new that's,
That came into place in November. Prior to that, we would lay the charges and then Crown would work and they would withdraw whatever they felt wasn't needed at court. Now we bumped this up earlier where they review the file prior to it getting to its first appearance in court and accept whatever charges we've recommended or change them. We just have a little more contact with them at the front end.
good, good.
Yeah.
And just talking to some of the local businesses in the community, there seems to be maybe an increase in activity of theft and break-ins over just the last week. Are they kind of targeted? Do you know kind of who's behind them, or is it, repeat offenders and things like that?
I would say it's probably repeat offenders. As I said, we've had a few people that got released here in January and right at the beginning of February, actually, one other gentleman was just released. So
Okay,
we are working on that.
okay, wonderful. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming. Keep up the great work. It's fantastic. I see you guys have been just out in full force. I know I have a young driver in the house and she's like, man, Mom, they're everywhere. I like it. And she's
That's a
like,
good thing.
it is a good thing. And she's like, you're saying how she's driving and then you'll be right behind and she gets all nervous. I'm like, new to driving. Like, it's a
Awesome.
good thing.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care. Next up on the agenda, 7.2, we have our second delegation this morning, and that is the Drayton Valley Curling Club. Miss Cheryl Thomas, and I'm not seeing, or is it Nicole? You're not Nicole, are you? Okay, wonderful. If you want to introduce yourself and then, yeah, take it away. Morning.
So my first slide that I just. Thanks. Oh, okay. I'm not used to microphones. Thanks, Tom. It's been a while since I've moved back to town here. So I was going to say, so thanks for letting us provide this opportunity to present to you. What the curling club is hosting the under 20 curling. So that championship is for athletes that are 17, 18, 19 that are going to come and curl for the provincial championships. It's being held in Drayton Valley. In the Briar. So we've got a little bit of a history. And if you go down to the curling rink, you can see a lot of the banners all the kids that have been through, all the athletes that have grown up and curled and represented Drayton Valley. If you go to the next slide, so the event itself. So it's really what we're doing here is we're trying to support the future of curling in Alberta. And that's what Curling Alberta is all about. Try to support it, try to make sure that it's a safe place for kids to come and curl. They look after kind of the health side of things and make sure it's a diverse, inclusive, equitable type of organization that they've got. The club itself will be hosting the Bonspiel. They're going to present, it's presented by Curling Alberta. So Curling Alberta is the kind of the umbrella organization, but they've also got the Hec Gervais Academic and Curling Scholarship that supports it. So they donate money to people that are curling that have grown up curling. They donate money to them as they make an application. And what they do is they look for kids that show leadership, give back to the community, and are also leaders in the curling side of things, so they can help out. And then Curling Alberta, like I said, they strive to create this environment where curling is going to be the number one choice. Now, I know there's lots of choices for kids out there, but they're trying to make it so that it's as competitive as hockey and those type of things and help. We've got a pretty active junior curling club in town, as you had read there. I think there's 45 juniors, and then two different, the high schools got curling, and also the junior club have curling too. So we're trying to along the same lines as Curling Canada or Curling Alberta. Yeah, so the event itself, scheduled for March 5th to 10th down at the Drayton Curling Club. Kicks off Tuesday with some practice rounds and some team pictures. Then on Wednesday, we've got the official kickoff at 6 o'clock. We've got 6:15 there, 6 o'clock, 5:45, something like that. We're going to get folks out. The town's been invited. I think, Mary, you've been invited to the ceremonies. We'd love to see you come and get out. We're going to have a color guard that's coming from the Legion, the RCMP. Left already, but the RCMP have been invited. The Reeve, a few others are going to be involved. Curling Alberta will be there. We'll have a piper that'll march everybody out. We'll introduce the team. So it'll be a really good show that we're trying to put on. And that's what we're trying to do. Curling Alberta gives us some guidelines on what we have for how the event's supposed to be run. And so we're following those the best we can. But as I'll show you later, just with the timing that came with the unfortunate incident that happened in the Avondale Club where they lost their ice plant, then they had to go and pick us. They picked us, and instead of giving us 9 to 12 months to do things, they give us kind of 6 to, I don't know, what was in Nicole, 3 months, something like that. Yeah. So we a couple months to go through, find some money, and we've pared our budget down, and we'll show you a little bit about that. And then the finals, or if you're interested, if you're interested in curling, there's going to be 3 draws every day. You can come down and watch some curling. We've got a bunch of volunteers coming down to help, so we're getting a lot of support from the curling club and the community. And then the final games will be on Sunday at 10, and 2:30 is when the final's going to be. There'll be 9 men's and 9 women's teams, so a total of 18 times 4, so about 100 curlers are going to be participating. So we'll bring a lot of new athletes into town that haven't seen Drayton Valley for a while. Maybe they've seen it through hockey or other things, or been here through high school sports, but they'll be able to come to Drayton Valley. And because these athletes are 17 to 19, they're going to be bringing mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, maybe some siblings. So you get a lot of exposure to the town. And that's one of the things that we're kind of hoping we can get some help with you, because we get some exposure to the town, and they'll be able to, they'll be spending some time in here. So curling, oops, okay. So the event, the award, like I alluded to earlier, the Avondale Club, their ice plant went down. And so then the decision was made to have it here with Drayton. And part of that came from the reputation that Ron Cutting has as an ice maker with Alberta Curling. It's, this is close, it's reasonable, it's not too far out of the way, close to Edmonton. And so you've made really good ice here. So Ron's been getting the ice, getting the logos down and everything. And we had the Curling Alberta representative out last night at our organization meeting and the board meeting, and he was there to look around and check the facilities out and give us some guidance at our meeting. But the Curling Alberta and just the host committee, just some of the things that the expectations when we signed up for this were, to stage a premier event, to showcase our facilities and have really good conditions, to make sure that the volunteer experience is good. The volunteer side, we're going to have, I think it's around 90 volunteers think it was 90 volunteers. I can't remember, somewhere in that range, 90 volunteers that'll be coming and going, maybe the same faces there. A lot of times we will have people that are timekeeping. We're going to have umpires that are coming from Alberta Curling. We'll have people that are going to help to feed the athletes, help to clean up, help to clean the ice, all those sort of things. So there'll be a lot of people around. So we don't want to make sure the volunteer experience is going to be good also, because if it's not, then that's just going to go out and say, oh, that didn't work out so good, and that'll have some bad repercussions for us. We also want to we also agreed kind of from a cost efficiency, and as you can see with our budget, we don't have any things that we've tacked on the end. There's no frivolous stuff. We're talking about volunteer shirts to identify the volunteers and how we could entice volunteers to come and help. That was something from a budget perspective that we really didn't think that we had the money for, but we were able to find a donor that sponsored us and gave us our shirts, and then also promote the sport of curling in Drayton Valley. So if we go on to our budget page, should be 2.4. So our expenses are around 22,000, and you can see the big ones are the facility rentals, and that's for the three places that talked about the boxing center, the Sliders kitchen, and then the Mackenzie Center. Ice maintenance, typically our guys making ice, Ron Cutting and Aaron are only there for about 30 hours a week to look after club curling, but now they're going to have to be there for a whole week, so we have to pay for a little bit extra. Hospitality for the athletes, so that's kind of like some welcome gifts that we're going to give them, also a little bit of food, those type of things, and then also our volunteer to keep them fed so that they can keep focused on the game and do what we need to make sure it's a good event. Right now, we've got around $10,000, so it's updated since we sent this in. So we had $8,600 confirmed, so we're at 10,000 now. We did get a $2,000 from Alberta Curling. That's to pay for the umpire that comes out. So the umpire costs $2,000, and donations. Drayton Valley Hospitality and Tourist Association stepped right up, right out of the giddy up, and gave us $5,000, which we were very appreciative. And then we've also got some donations. And what we've been trying to do, because the athletes are coming from all around Alberta, they're coming from Calgary, Edmonton, Innisfail, Okotoks, Lethbridge, Sherwood Park. So when we've been out looking for sponsors, we've looked for provincially branded, locally represented companies to try to, not to put the burden on the small, we'll just use like for whatever reason, my brother's company pops into mind, Ken Spend Contracting, because there's really no benefit from him aside from promoting the town. But if we can get some of these other corporate sponsors, so that's been going good. We've got some feedback and some good sponsorship there. We move on to the we keep going, the audience, we've got a lot of Facebook, social media up. Curling Canada is or Curling Alberta will help us with, there'll be some commentating going on. There'll be a channel where they're broadcasting the games. Up to the next one. So this is kind of the last two slides that I wanted to leave on. So kind of this event here. So we're going to bring a bunch of Albertans into the town. So there's 90 or 100 athletes that are coming, and then if they bring parents and stuff like that, there could be potentially a couple hundred people that show up that are new to town, see what the town has. Curling Alberta said from this size of event, about 150 extra hotel rooms that wouldn't be used up. They estimate around $100,000 in revenue that'll come into the town. So it's not a huge amount of change, but it's a good chunk of change that helps some of the businesses around. And the other part that it does for us through the whole thing is that it'll allow us to use the curling club. If we can host a good event, then it allows us to position ourselves, or maybe we can get on with another event. There's all the under 21s, like U15, those types. They would want to have a curling bonspiel here. So we continue to promote curling within Drayton. And then if you go even higher, there's other ways, like in Hinton was the Alberta Playdowns just recently. So we may be, those type of things. It allows us to get there. It gives us the experience, but also helps us to showcase the curling club and also the, excuse me. Yeah, sorry, getting ahead of myself on the slide. If I go to the next slide. This is the last one, so I'll kind of walk off with this one. So really in the true spirit of pulling together, we're looking to the town of Drayton Valley to see if you would be willing to to provide us with relief of the facility rental to help us balance our budget. Right now, we're kind of dependent on how our ticket sales for admission go in our 50/50s. We're anywhere from kind of $11,000 to $4,000 depending. So we've got $7,000 that we're hoping that people will buy tickets and admissions. So we know that that number is going to go down, and we've still got some fundraising that we're doing and some irons in the fire that we're chasing down. But we're really looking for is this for the for either money or just relief on the facilities. And with that, just remember that yeah, those kids are only one rock away from making their dreams come true. So with that, if you have any questions, I know I took a little more than my 10 minutes, but.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to see you, Kim. I didn't recognize you there when you first came in, so it's nice to see you. Thank you for your presentation. I do have it in my calendar to attend, so I'm looking
perfect.
forward to it. With that being said, I will open it up for any questions for Mr. Bowles this morning. Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Morning, Kim. We had a chat there last week, and
Yes.
you know, one of the things that really kind of, you know, even in your presentation was the 2.5 months to pull it together, right? That's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those folks are volunteers, so certainly appreciate that. Now we have is it the high school going on right now? I think for the next 4 or 5 days. Are you guys involved in that as well?
No, we're not. No, the Free Press showed kind of in the Free Press when you read it, Councillor McGee, you would have seen my picture in there, and they said that I was accepting a check for the high school, and that was just wrong. That'll be changed around. So Ryan was going to chat with them and get him to fix that. So
Get that
no, we're
right.
not involved in that.
Okay. No
Well,
problem.
sorry, I shouldn't say we're not involved at all, Nicole. No, that's run by the high school.
Okay. And the $100,000, you know, I wouldn't downplay that. I mean, that's significant to this town, right? Like an injection of 100 grand is 100 grand. So
Yeah.
that's good. Now, the last question I would have would be around, you know, you talked about the sponsorships and that you've approached a whole bunch of companies, I would assume, to help offset some of your costs, right? So have you got a whole lot of help, I guess, from those folks?
Yeah, so where we started off was we wanted to kind of work down the food chain as far as the oil field goes. So we talked to the major oil companies that are in town, and they've been very responsive and gone into their social responsibility program. So they've taken, instead of from local funds, they've submitted into Calgary, wherever their head offices are, and they've been able to draw funds from there. So we've got the bulk of it's been from there. We've got a couple of the like UFA, I talked to UFA, and they give us $400 using the same kind of idea that UFA's around. The Leduc Co-op, they give us $600 through the same. Talked to a lot of the folks, much like the discussion that we had, our franchises. And so you go up and you talk to them, and then, well, okay, we just do the advertising. So we're still working with a few, but most of it has been through the oil companies. So we have some service companies that had offered up, but we wanted to try to chase money around from sort of a bigger draw, because all these kids that are coming I keep calling them kids, all these athletes that are coming from Alberta. So they're going to see all these brands along the way when they go back home, or as they move on from either curling or not curling. There's going to be places for them where they can, you know, like a bank, they can go, oh, well, that's the bank I use. That makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, we've still got some time left to go down and cut a little bit deeper into where our donation list is.
Sure. Yeah, and my comment to that is I know that there's companies that would definitely give money locally, right? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, we're cognizant, because a lot of the people that are doing the fundraising are the same ones that are going out asking for the oilmans, asking for the other things too. So we just didn't want to run it too dry, but yeah.
Councillor McGee?
Oh, Kim, nice. You're back, and welcome back.
Thank you.
And it's good to see you right out in front now and running a program like this. When you think of Aaron Slashinsky, he actually qualified in Hinton to represent the Briar in Saskatchewan coming up. And
Yeah,
that's
great
tremendous. Very proud of him.
Yeah.
And his dad, of course, is still here, and
Mhm.
you know, so it was here that it started it all, in that junior club. And it's so interesting that we've been discussing highest and best use of buildings. Curling has come up more often than not, because curling has taken a little bit of a turn from back in the days when we had to say, no, you can't, we have no room.
Yeah.
And no room at the end. So, but turning it around with the youth and bringing them in, I think is exactly what has to be done. And so you're doing that, promoting the sport. It makes so much sense to me. I just think, you know, for me, it's an easy ask, and appreciate you being here, and I look forward to watching a bit of curling. I'm watching it on TV now, so.
Perfect.
So well done and welcome back.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome back. Yeah, it's exciting to have this in our community for sure. As Tom had mentioned there, we're definitely seeing some life being brought back into the curling, you know, all around us. It seems to be a growing trend among youth and adults again, and those numbers are increasing. So the opportunity to be hosting it here it's a fantastic opportunity for the club and for Drayton Valley. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. My question probably would be for our administration when it comes to funding. Does anything, when you look at the budget and the expenses, does it fit under maybe FCSS or our community grants? Like when I look at maybe the athletes and things like that, hospitality, is there something that just kind of catches your attention? We can have a further conversation after, but just kind of initially.
Oh, sorry. Didn't want to trip. Okay.
Thank you for that question, Madam Chair, and through to you, the rest of council as well. So yes, of course, we see, of course, when we compare this with the other event, which already had, of course, a discussion around the use of the community grant funding. So it fits there, of course, with the short term of organization for this committee. They did not make the deadline at that moment to apply for the community grant for the Q1. Q2, of course, is going to be after this event is already over. We have seen that in the past, that certain expenses for events or individuals for those grants came after the fact. So that's a possibility, of course, but that does not make them sure if they can run this, of course. So they would love to see the money, of course, ahead of time for this event solidified.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one opportunity. The other thing, of course, I have to say is that we see this as a revenue stream coming into in our facility because we have this event using those locations.
Mm-hmm.
If we waive this, of course, then we have the joint use agreement with Bracel County, so that has an impact to that. So that's why we always, as administration, encourage to collect the revenue and find the expenses if council wants to support it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
There are other opportunities and possibilities maybe for council to consider, which is not an easy task. We think of the contingency fund of the CAO or maybe other potential locations that council can find money for this. So we encourage, of course, to still find a source of money to fund the rental for the facility that we will see coming towards us, of course, as a revenue stream.
Thank you very much for that, Hans. I appreciate that. We do have a recreation board meeting tomorrow, so maybe that would be an opportunity to bring it up with a couple of the councillors from the county to send back to their council to see if there would be an appetite in looking at that, the rental fee maybe perhaps, or a portion of it. So as Mr. Hans van Klaveren has mentioned, there's I think some options that we can look at. We appreciate you coming today and presenting, and we wish you and the volunteers and the teams and everybody the best of luck, and we'll see you at the event. And somebody maybe can reach out to you in the coming days or in the next week or so to let you know if we've, you know, where we've kind of come with our discussions for sure.
Okay, sure. Well, thanks very much for allowing me to present.
Absolutely. Nice
Well-
seeing you again. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.
Likewise, have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye for now.
So we can maybe discuss that a little bit later, going down the agenda of what that'll look like. And then, like I said, bringing it up tomorrow at the joint recreation to give the county council a little bit of a heads up and see what they're thinking. So that wraps up our delegations this morning. Business arising, like I said, we can have further conversations of what that would look like. And we'll jump into our first decision item. I do not have names on my agenda this morning. 9.1 is our water restriction policy. Who is presenting that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll present that.
Okay.
I believe Shelley is not feeling well today, but I do believe she is online to answer any questions that you may have that I can't answer.
Okay, wonderful. So Mr. Ferris will present us the water restriction policy this morning. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So in December 23, a letter was sent from the government of Alberta regarding the current provincial drought. As you know, we are currently at stage 4 of a stage 5 system in many parts of the province. The letter directed that we work towards planning and preparedness for drought condition continuation this summer. After the February 7th regular council meeting, the following changes were applied to the policy. Under Section 4, subsection A, the event of a local or provincial state of emergency, decisions will be made according to the direction of provincial and local authorities. And 2, after further discussions with pool operations, it was decided that they would be required to follow the same rules put in place for industrial and commercial users. And the administration has implemented those changes into the policy in all 5 stages of the restriction. With that, administration respectfully recommends that council approve the water restriction policy T01-24 as outlined in report AIR 24-055. Happy to have Shelley answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions for administration? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thanks for this, Wally. Question regarding the pool. I guess they generally recycle their water, correct?
I know, Shelley, are you there?
Yes, I am. I discussed with the pool, and they had said that they do generally recirculate water, but they do have to do top-ups because not all water is going to end up back in their tanks. And it's quite a significant amount of water that they pull when they do those top-ups.
Okay, so potentially could the pool be affected in terms of being able to have full occupancy from that perspective then?
Yes, that's correct. Kelsey right now is looking over the water restriction policy and trying to implement things into operations to help support our policy.
Okay, so that potentially could have a budgetary impact, I guess, from usage at the pool. And then the other thing was the splash park. I believe that's doesn't fall into the same thing whereby they recycle probably all of their water, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for administration? Councillor Kamana?
Thank you. Just wondering, there's some parts of the province already in stage 4, I believe, but we are not. Am I correct, or are we getting close to there?
So
Do that one, Shelley?
yes, thank you for the question. I reached out to Alberta Environment, and yes, the province as a whole is in stage 4, but that doesn't speak to every individual municipality. So if they were to go into a 5, they would hope that all municipalities would enact their policy or activate their policy to help the situation that the province is currently seeing, and then they would give us legislative tools to help with that.
If I may ask a follow-up, so if we pass this now, as of now, we are not going to enact anything until province gives us guidelines?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So my question would be, with this new policy coming into play, would we be communicating, I guess, and sending out media posts and everything like that, so people are aware that this policy has been, a motion has been made today? So if we're moving through those stages, come another month or two, that nobody's caught by surprise. They understand what the policy is about. They understand why the policy has been put in place, and then what those stages are. I guess just that clear education and clear, I guess, messaging is what I'm asking.
That's correct. Jen and I have been working on that already. So we'll be we'll be educating the residents on how this will all look and play out in the future.
Okay, and that'll be starting immediately, as I guess, if the motion is made and the policy is accepted?
We're assuming that we'll probably have a lot of our things together for beginning of March.
Okay, I guess the reason why, beginning of March is, yeah, it's only a week away. I guess the reason why also I'm asking is, as Councillor Gamana had stated, that residents might, they hear that the province is in a stage 4. So when, they might hear that there was a motion made at the town of Drayton Valley that we approve this, and then are we in a stage 4? What does that stage 4 look like, right? Just so I guess that our residents know that, our water from the North Saskatchewan and our water intake is fine here. We are not in stage 4. That's a provincial. I guess just educating on what the provincial stage 4 means versus what our municipal stages mean and how we're not in that same crisis.
Yes, correct. We'll make sure that the residents are well educated on that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McGee?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion the council approves the water restriction policy T0124 as outlined in report AR 24055.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? I'll just add that as we're heading into spring and the weather that we've been having this winter, people are a little bit unsettled and I'm reminded of last year, the wildfires and the dry and hot conditions. So I think that putting in a water restriction policy into place if we need it is important. That ensures that the town has adequate water supply and is protected to the best that we can be for any future disasters or anything that may come our way. So with that being said, there's a motion on the table from Councillor McGee. I'll ask all in favor.
In
Bill, are you on?
favor.
Thank you very much. That is carried. Next up is 9.2 Utility Bylaw Amendment 2024-01E. And Mr. Ferris, I'm assuming you will be presenting this as well this morning.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Utility Bylaw 2024-01-E. In 2023, administration brought forward an amendment to the utility bylaw, which was heavily driven by the fact that the town did not have any means to enforce the bylaw. Administration added fines and penalties section of the bylaws so that we could start enforcing infractions as required. It was approved by council on August 16, 2023. In 2024, we had our first enforceable action take place, and unfortunately, the wording in section 4.1 of the bylaw prevented us from issuing a fine for tampering with the water meter, as it stated, no person shall in the bylaw. Without having sufficient proof of exactly who tampered with the meter, this prevented us from having the ability to issue a fine. Administration has amended the current utilities bylaw for council consideration with the following changes. 1, change the formatting of that bylaw to remove bullet points to make referring to the bylaw more clear. Added where fines are applicable under each section. And 3, added additional verbiage to be able to place fines on the utility account holder if getting a confession is not possible. Number 4, we added a reference to the community standards bylaw for water restriction and penalties. 5, we added a section in water restriction section of the bylaw to refer to the policy for details pertaining to water restriction. That was direction from council during first reading of the bylaw. Changed section numbers in the fine and penalty schedule to reflect formatting changes. And number 7, we corrected section 2.5 hauled wastewater. Subsection 2.4 removed does not contain commercial or industrial wastewater with that contains commercial or industrial wastewater. Sorry, I'm just reading that again. Corrected section 2.5 hauled wastewater. Subsection II4, remove does not contain commercial or industrial wastewater with contains commercial or industrial wastewater. So with that, staff respectfully recommend that council give second reading to bylaw 2024-01-E as outlined in report AIR 24-057.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? There's no questions. Is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? Councillor Sheriff?
I'll make a motion that the council gives second reading to utility bylaw 2024-01E as outlined in report AIR 24-057.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate? Given this bylaw first reading, this is the second reading. If there's no further comment, question, or debate, then I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
That is carried. Is there a member of council who'd like to make a motion for third reading? Councillor Clark?
I'll move that council gives third reading to bylaw or utility bylaw 2024-01E as outlined in report AIR 24-057.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the third reading motion? Then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
That is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Bill. Moving on to 9.3, proposed bylaw 2023-09D to add dwelling multi-unit to Plan 5935HW, Block 11, Lot 2. Mr. Woodliff, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. The subject property is districted commercial general and is located on Industrial Drive between 52nd Street and 50th Street, 2 lots east of 50th Street. Just going to get it up on the screen here. The applicant proposes adding dwelling multi-unit as a discretionary use in the commercial general district, but restricting it to only this location. The new owners are interested in building a 4-story apartment building with 42 units with an affordable mix of studio apartments and 1-bedroom flats, catering to people entering the rental market for the first time. The 2013 Housing Condition Index update report commissioned by the town and Brazeau County recommended increasing the supply of affordable housing for modest income renters. So our recommendation is that council approve first reading of bylaw 2023-09D in report AIR 24-056, and that council direct administration to schedule a public hearing.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions? Councillor McGee.
I'm thinking about the federal funding and the provincial funding and how we might try to address the same question. This has got nothing to do with that. This is a private developer coming in, looking to propose affordable housing in Drayton Valley. Am I correct?
Yes, we explored that idea a little bit, but it's not the more entry level housing. It's a little bit higher, I guess you'd say. So it wouldn't qualify for that type of grant.
All right.
But we did look at that.
Yeah, so it's really, in a sense, a private developer. I think I can develop this, and I'm going to put a point where I can rent and recover my investment.
Yes, it's a profit type of project.
If there's no other questions, I'd make the motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay, go ahead. You're making the motion to approve first reading of bylaw.
Council approve first reading of bylaw 2023-09D as defined in AIR 24056, and that council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 2023-09D.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
The only thing that kind of catches my eye is that is the parking right in that 14-meter empty strip. And, you know, I don't know if there's an assumption on their part that the town's going to just lease that to them or give that to them. I don't know, but I know there's also a comment in here that the town could consider reducing the number of units to 31. Of course, from a developer's perspective, the more, the better, right? So have we had those conversations with them about reducing to 31 units?
I have had those conversations. He's willing to do that. He'd rather, I think, provide more affordable housing, smaller units. It would be better if he could park the vehicles in the front, but he's willing to do that. Yeah, if that's what the council would like.
Right. And I would make a note too that I think in the past 40 years, there's been 28 units built, purpose-built apartments in Drayton. So this is probably a needed thing. So it's just a matter, I guess, of what it looks like at the end of the day. So great, thanks.
Councillor Manna?
Thank you. No, I agree with Councillor Clark's comments there. Just wondering about the, again, the parking issue as well as having as many units as possible. I mean, it's a need in our community, and it's great to see that the private sector is stepping in to fill that need in our community. So the discussion, if we pass this as is, as Councillor Maggie presented to us or motioned, which way are we going? We're going with 31 or are we going with 40?
Well, they haven't provided a design yet. He's looking to have the amendment passed so that he has certainty that this could happen, and then he'll start working on some designs. He did provide a design in the this is one just general design in the package, but they haven't started crunching the numbers yet. So, I mean, we could bring this back, the development permit back to council to review before to be approved by council. And that's something that I would think we would do if that's your wish.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's prudent to have more units for them as well as for the community as well. So, if we can work with them to make that happen, that'll be excellent. Thank you.
So a motion's been made, and keep in mind, this is a text amendment by law to add dwelling multi to CGen district amended. Councillor McGee made that motion. If there's no further comment, question, it looks like Bill might have his hand up. Councillor Ballas, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Just a clarification. Is this the time? Well, number one, I think we're moving ahead a little fast without a design. But secondly, is this the time that we would put the conditions in?
Through the chair, not at this point. This is just the amendment. The conditions would be on the development permit.
Okay, so this just amending the land use bylaw?
Yes, to allow for that type of development at that location, because it's not currently allowed in the land use bylaw in that district.
All right, and if that's the case, then it would follow under our current bylaws, and the parking would be restricted unless it comes into a development agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, we would have to work out the parking. If when it comes back to council, council could grant that lessen that requirement.
Okay, thank you.
There's no further questions, and there's a motion on the table. I'll call all in favor.
In favor?
Thank you. That is carried. And I think what we'll do is just call a 10-minute break before we come back and jump into 9.4 and 9.5 with Ms. Thompson. Reconvene our meeting back at 10:11 a.m. and we'll jump back into our decision items. We have two decision items that Ms. Thompson will be presenting. The first is Town of Drayton Valley Borrowing Bylaw 2024-01F, presented for first reading.
Thank you. As per the 2024 capital budget, the attached proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-01F is for the purpose of rebuilding 50th Avenue. The entire project is budgeted for $6,611,145,000, of which 1.6 million will be debentured. The remaining will be funded by the CCBF, which was previously known as the Federal Gas Tax Fund, and MSI, now known as LGFF. This will increase the town's debt and subsequent principal and debt repayments. The current interest rate for 20-year debentures is 5.03% per Alberta Capital Finance. The total interest cost over the lifetime of the debenture will be just about $1 million, just shy of $1 million. The annual loan repayments will be $133,000 with an approximate 1.06% impact on taxes. Of course, with the remembering that 1% is the current tax rate. So as the taxes increase over time, that impact will be less because the net taxes will be more, assuming that taxes go up every year. So once this first reading is done, then we'll be advertising it for two weeks in our local newspaper per MGA requirements, at which point it will come back for the public hearing and second and third reading. And an additional note that this borrowing with the borrowing bylaw that I'll present right after this for the distribution project, it will increase our debt limit used from 39 to 42%. Any questions?
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Ms. Thompson? Councillor Gamana?
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Just wondering, after this one and the next one that we're presenting, what will be the leeway for us for any more debentures going forward?
Well, with the 10-year capital plan, we have a number of projects that will have to be debentured over the next few years. A lot of water and sewer infrastructure. And a big reason for this, as I've mentioned in past budget seasons, is that the revenues made off of utilities should largely be going into reserves to fund this infrastructure. However, it has been used to offset taxes for forever, I think. I mean, and certainly since what I've looked at, there's been times we've put some into reserves, but it hasn't been dedicated per se. It's been if we find that we put some in reserves, but it has been used to offset taxes, which means now we're in a position where projects coming up have to be debentured on water and sewer infrastructure, and there's some large projects coming up. So we have the wastewater treatment augmentation. That's a regular Alberta Environment Regulatory upgrade. And it's going to be costing us just about $15 million. We're assuming, very much relying on the fact that because it's regulatory, that we will be finding some grants for that, up to 75%, which means that 25% has to be debentured, and that's 3.6 million next year. And then we have a year in 2026 where not much is budgeted for, and then in 2027 we have some road upgrades on the budget. We have some sanitary trunk upgrades and so on. So anyway, over the next 10 years, we have multiple projects that will need to be debentured. And if everything goes as planned, with 3% tax increases every year, as we discussed, we will be running into some debenture limits. We'll be running out of our debenture limits by 2031. So we have from now till then to figure out some ways to work around those issues. So as long as we stay within 65%, we don't have to get ministerial approval. But once we go over that, we have to get ministerial approval to debenture. So that's kind of the limit I use when I say that we run into some issues, is that in 2020, just make sure that I have the right year. I believe it was 2031. We will be at 67%, 2032. So at 2032, if everything, and we know that things change over time. I might have projects on here that we will get around. Maybe regulatory requirements will change, because with the infrastructure deficit that we see across Canada, I can only assume, that's my professional opinion, is that one of the first things that will change is some regulatory requirements surrounding water and wastewater, because that's where a huge amount of money goes into. And like this $14 million project next year, if we didn't get grants for it, we literally couldn't afford it. And so if the government says, well, there's no grants that can fund something like this, what has to give? The requirements, right? And so we don't know what the requirements will be, if they will get more stringent or less stringent in the future. My prediction is they'll get less stringent simply because of the funds So we don't know yet, but based on our best current information, this is what we have.
Thank you for that. I think, not only us, most of municipalities in Alberta are on the same boat. But my question was that, we are at 42% after the next one, and then we can go up to 65. What is that amount in dollars?
We can borrow 2.5 times our borrowing at any point can be 2.5 times our taxable income. So it is maybe 15 million from now till then.
Another 15 million. So we have a 15 million.
14 million, just under 14 million. So if we did that $14 million project, if we had to debenture the whole thing, we'd be running out of our limit next year.
Okay, thank you.
So just a little bit further on the regulatory upgrades to that, is there a timeline on that? What's that timeline?
I believe, Shelley can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it has to be completed by 2026. So the project has to be done next year. Shelley, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Maybe she's left us because she's sick.
Who's
Okay.
left? So project has to be completed by next year.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to be completed by 2026. So the major part of the project will be next year.
Yeah, that's crazy. We just keep seeing these regulatory upgrade pushes at mere dollars that were being offered. Our MSI is cut to under half of what it used to be. So if our MSI was still available in what it was, we wouldn't be having this conversation today for this project at all. So we're sure get put in a situation as a municipality to make these decisions without having to hand in the keys. Are there any other questions for administration? No, is there a member of council that would like to make a motion? Councillor Evans, thank you very much for that.
I'll make the motion that council give first reading to proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-01F.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Just comment that this project we started back in 2023. It's been a project that's been on our capital project list for quite a few years. With it came the addition of the underground work, which I think was a good choice that this council made to push that forward. That infrastructure has been under the ground and aging since 1957, I believe. So it was in dire need of replacement. So in one sense, it feels good to have one of those capital projects completed off the list. Unfortunately, it comes with a price, that price of debenturing. We no longer can rely or count on the MSI funding that we used to get allocated for infrastructure projects. And it makes it only more difficult as rural community as we're competing always with the larger urban centers, and we get just smaller and smaller amounts of money, but then yet we're forced or regulated to have certain upgrades. So this one wasn't a regulated upgrade. It was a community need for sure. And it's, I think, appreciated and understood. It's just more of these difficult decisions will be coming our way. And I think as they come, they'll just get more and more difficult. But I think that today, it's a project that is nice that it's being completed this year. We'll see that wrapped up. There's no other comment, question, or debate, then I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Bill. That is carried. Next up again, Ms. Thompson, we have Town of Drayton Valley borrowing bylaw 2024-02F presented for first reading.
Thank you. So this is for the water distribution tie-in project. It's for borrowing bylaw 2024-02F, and the whole project is budgeted for 3.6 million, of which 2.3 will have to be debentured, potentially. So the remaining is funded by MSI. Why I say potentially is because we are still waiting on hearing back from the grant from AMWIP, I believe it is. Bree will correct me if I'm wrong. Bree Haskell, our new Utilities manager,
Oh, congratulations.
permanent. Yes, she's online and she did tell me that the
Congratulations, Bree.
augmentation project deadline is December 31st of 2026. So anyway, back to this project. We are still waiting to hear from that grant, but because of the timing of when we have to have, so we have to have our borrowing bylaw done before we can break ground on the project. So we have to do this borrowing bylaw for the entire amount, and we may not have to debenture all of it if the grant comes through. But the bylaw has to be in place before we break ground, or else we can't borrow on it. So that's why we're doing this bylaw for the entire amount. If a grant comes through, then we will not be borrowing for this entire amount. I'm really hoping they will pull through, but I do know that there are a lot of project applications that they are having to rate against each other. And so I'm not holding my breath, but really, really, really hoping that they will pull through. At some point, it will become an emergency. I think it is now, but they might not. But that's the thing is that if they keep pushing grant funding and places have to make really, really tough decisions on not doing these these projects, then at some point they will become urgent, right? So that's where we're at. So we are hoping to hear back, I would imagine sometime in March, on whether or not we will be receiving any grant funds. So the interest rate for the lifetime of this project is longer than the road. The road one was 20 years. So this one is longer, which is why the interest rate is slightly higher. The debenture interest over its lifetime will be 1.8 million. The annual loan payments will be 295,000 with an approximate impact of 2.35% on taxes. And any questions, I will take them now.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans?
As far as this project goes, if we don't manage to secure the right of way, we don't have any other options, correct?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Evans, that's correct.
So, and it looks like that may be a bit of a process.
It will be a process, that's correct.
Is there any way that, Elvira was talking about securing the grant, we need to have this in place. Is there any way that we can kick this down the road a little ways until we know or we get more clarity on if we can actually secure that right of way and do the project? One of the reasons is, I think it looks like maybe we'll see some lowering of the interest rates sometime this year. I'm just wondering if we might get a little bit of a break if we left this for approval until we knew that we could go ahead with the project, or is it required right now to keep the grant available to us?
So because the borrowing bylaw can be passed now, but I don't have to do the borrowing application right now. So if the bylaw is in place, then I don't have to, there's no waiting around if we are going to move on it. But what I would do is I'll probably wait till the June so the Alberta Capital Finance lends its money in quarters. And so April is the one deadline. I believe it's April. I think they're 1 month behind the calendar quarters. So I think I would borrow in the summer if the project is going, and I'm expecting interest rates to come down a little bit. And if I believe, I'll look into this just to confirm, but I believe as long as the borrowing bylaw is passed, even if the project started, I could delay the borrowing within the calendar year to just capitalize on interest rates. Because we have the deferred revenue in our bank from other projects, that it wouldn't be necessarily like I could manage it cash flow wise till the end of the year. So even, I could even push it to the very last borrowing deadline of 2024, just to hopefully get some slightly lower interest rates, hopefully much lower, but at least slightly lower, yes.
Just follow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's great. So all we're doing is approving the bylaw here. The actual transaction, we can delay based on what we see happening with the project itself and the interest rates. Okay, thank you for that.
And this is first reading, so when are we anticipating that both of these will come for?
In March,
In March.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Gamana?
I'm just going to make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion that council give first reading to proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-02/F. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? And I'll ask all in favor.
In favor?
Thank you, Bill. That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
I'm just curious. I was actually in Lac St. Anne County on Saturday, and they have been doing a ton of work through the Water for Life now, and getting like 95% funding. Although that is for distribution supply lines regional, so they're supplying some small towns from a regional plant. Now, part of the requirement of this project is so we can push the required volumes and pressures over into Brazeau County. I'm just wondering, and my hopes are not high. I think this would be considered a non-regional, but the fact is we're trying to supply another municipality. Has that been looked at, or was it rejected? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you for the question through the chair to you, Councillor Evans. My understanding, the Water for Life grants are for regional systems, so like a regional wastewater system or a regional water system. We don't have that, so I don't think we would qualify. Alvira, do you have any other info on that?
The only thing I can think of, I don't know very much about Water for Life specifically, but I do know that grant funding, it's a lot more available when you're creating new, like supplying to new, rather than we're working with like pressuring within current, right? We're not expanding to new areas. So I know that that is a big factor. And I do know we've talked about, because we relied on certain things to have been done on the county side of town, kind of. I know we've talked about it, but I can't remember what came of it, but I doubt it. But I mean, I'm going to talk to Shelley about it for sure to see if there'd be a chance to apply for any other grant fund if it was considered regional. So definitely something to look at. I don't know. She may have, but I don't know for sure, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think it's a long shot. I agree with you. It's mostly new regional supply lines. And just lastly, I don't know if the next piece of this would be from our distribution point, a new line going over to the county, or if we're going to take care of or take advantage of the existing infrastructure there. I'm not sure what all that looks like. It's quite a ways in the future, but if we are going to replace that line from our municipality to there, maybe there's a opportunity there. It's just that Water for Life is such a high funding rate. We're worth a shot, I guess, but I agree. It's a long shot.
Yes, thank you. Again, I don't think we qualify. So a regional water system or a regional wastewater system will come with a commission. So there would be a commission and a CAO of that commission to run those types of projects. And I know in a previous role that there was a water and wastewater commission, And, it was the commission was made up of members of council from the town as well as surrounding communities that were impacted or involved in that regional system. Right now, our water is, I hate to say it's free after the two reports we just heard, but it's not metered, we don't pay for it. If we move to a regional water system, it'll be metered and everybody would start to pay. It's quite a process. So my understanding of the Water for Life is that it is for those regional water systems. And that's why in Alberta, you see a fair amount of pressure across the province for communities to get onto regional water systems.
Okay, moving on. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. Next up is 9.6, Sustainability Committee Board Member Appointment. Mr. Hans van Klaveren, welcome again.
Thank you, Mayor, and through to you, to the rest of council as well. So in front of you, you have a report that is regarding the Sustainability Committee Board Member appointment. So the Town of Drayton Valley Sustainability Committee is the advisory and implementation body, and we have the mandate, of course, to provide all kinds of advice and perspective on community sustainability towards council as a deciding board. Currently, we have the terms of reference in place that has place for 2 council members, which are at the moment Councillor Gamana and Councillor Evans, who is also chairing this committee. And in the terms of reference, there's space for up to three community representatives who have experience and interest in quality of life for the community. We received 2 applications in the past couple of weeks. One application is from Geraldine Cahill and one from Cynthia Gilroy. Those applications have been vetted by the chair as well, and with the, let's say, support of the committee, we bring this here forward for appointment to the board. In the application, you can see that there's, of course, a preference for terms, and both terms is recommended here to be for 1 year, starting right now, up to the organizational committee meeting in fall again of this year. One of those applications, Geraldine Cahill, is from Brazil County, and the other one, Cynthia Gilroy, she resides in town of Drayton Valley. We've seen in the past, of course, that people that have an interest in the sustainability of the town of Drayton Valley, that they are most of the time matter experts. People are interested and not always reside straight away in Drayton Valley, or sometimes move out of the community for a time being. So with that, the recommendation is that council appoint Geraldine Cahill and Cynthia Gilroy, both for 1 year term, to the Sustainability Committee ending October 31st, 2024, as defined in report AIR 24034. Any questions?
Thank you very much for that. On the attachments for one of the board members, it says FOIP. Were we not supposed to be mentioning names, or what was the reason for the FOIP?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, so both are FOIP'd. I think it's
Both
missing. Yeah, both are FOIP'd because we take out names the phone
After
numbers, personal information
Okay,
when they are coming forward to recommendations.
okay, perfect. Any questions? Sure, go ahead, Councillor Evans.
As council can see, one of the applicants is from outside of Drayton Valley. We did have a very limited number of applicants, so thought it was worthwhile getting this in front of council and seeing what their thoughts on bringing someone in from the county. I don't have an issue with it. I think they're both good candidates. They'll bring some new ideas, maybe a breath of fresh air to the committee. But yeah, it's up to council whether they feel comfortable with that, bringing somebody in from outside of our town.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone want to answer or how they feel before I move to Councillor Gamana? Are you responding to Councillor Evan?
I can. No, I have no problem with that. Just me, myself, I have no problem. I think I see this as a community, whether we have 2 municipalities, we have one future. So there's no problem for me. And having said that, can I make a motion and then we can discuss?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so I'll make the motion that council appoint Geraldine Cahill and Cynthia Gilroy for one-year term to Sustainability Board ending on October 31st, 2024, as defined in report AIR 24034. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Councillor McGee?
Just a comment on bringing someone from outside of the town. The Sustainability Committee does what it can, but we are that community, so I don't see any particular problem at all in drawing on some expertise. If they're interested, that's the best thing. Be interested and carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
My only question would be just, does the bylaw specify or anything like that regarding who can be part of the committee? Does it have to be a TODV member, or can it be someone from outside of?
It just says up to 3 community representatives who have experience and interest in quality of life for the community and align with the mandates and objectives of the Sustainability Committee.
What's of the community mean though? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think the terms of reference and the mandate are very flexible. I know when I sat on the sustainability, they were crafted pretty low key and to be flexible. Some of the things that are mandated and the objectives of the committee is that quality of life. So it's the events. We have the Lanterns on the Pond, and that was one of the things that we wanted to do, is keep that, going in the community. That was created a few years back. So the Sustainability Committee is the one that is kind of steering the Lanterns on the Ponds. Any other events that might happen or helping and aiding other community organizations and events and things like that, educating around our stormwater ponds and what they do and the purpose that they serve, as well as I believe that the committee also looks at the landfill and, I guess revenues and ways that we can be, expanding and maybe looking at alternative, what's the word I'm looking for? Alternative processes, yeah, in dealing with our waste and recycling and things like that. I know there was a couple delegations that had come to sustainability to kind of do that, like a baling technique and waste diversion and things like that. So that's something as well, the sustainability, as well as the disconnect program. I think it's important of that. Some of our older homes in the community have where, their rain is going down where it shouldn't be going. So those are the types of things I think, are important for the committee to continue on. And I think both of these ladies will do a fantastic job. They'll bring new ideas and, contribute to the conversation. I think, amazing. So I'm definitely in support of this. Any other comments, questions? There's a motion on the table. I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
Thank you, Bill. That is carried. Thank you very much. Next up, we have the appointment of clerk to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Boards, SDAB. I am not sure who that is. You, Mr. Ferris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Municipal Government Act, Section 627, subsection 1, requires that council establish a subdivision and development appeal board. Further to this, Section 627, subsection 1 of the MGA requires that council establish or authorize the establishment of a subdivision and development appeal board, including the intermunicipal subdivision and development appeal board, and must appoint or authorize the appointment of one or more clerks of the subdivision and development appeal board. A person appointed as a clerk of a subdivision and development appeal board may also hold an appointment under Section 458 as a clerk of an assessment review board. No person is eligible for appointment as a clerk of a subdivision and development appeal board unless that person has successfully completed a training program in accordance with the regulations made under 627.3 subsection A. Nancy Thompson has completed the SDAB training on January 25th for the town of Drayton Valley. So with that, staff recommends that council appoint Nancy Thompson as clerk to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board for the town of Drayton Valley as defined in report AIR-24-053.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions to Mr. Ferris this morning? there a member of council who'd like to make a motion? Councillor McGee.
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion that council appoint Nancy Thompson as clerk to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board for the town of Drayton Valley as defined in report AIR 24053.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
That's carried. I think before we move into closed, we have a little bit of time still. It's 20 to 11. I'll jump to department reports. First up is Community and Recreation Service Department report. Hopefully you're ready for me. Probably weren't expecting that I would jump there. Come on down, Hans.
And thank you again. And yeah, the report for the Community and Recreation Service Department. So most of the time you see the first item on there, which is the ECDC or our childcare facility. But in this case, of course, they are really getting ready to move back to the location after the repairs have been done. So the exact timing is being sorted out at the moment. We try to, of course, accommodate that with the least amount of interruption for the parents, because this is, of course, short notice when we can go back and have the final say to it. But we are trying to do that without as much service interruption as we can. The Drayton Valley FCSS, it's good to, of course, to see that there's still the opportunity to accept grant applications for the program and projects for the remainder of 2024. So the stakeholders that most of the time know, of course, the route already to find that out, what it is and if they can apply. But there's a phone number that you can reach out to our department over there. The Omniplex, this gives again some numbers of our increase of our participation and what we see happening in our facility. We saw, of course, the two events that are curling related. It's great to see that coming to our facility. It's a lot of extra work, and we try to do the best we can with getting those let's say, events in and showcase our facility to the best of our abilities. The Clean Energy Technology Center, the CETC, had a fundraiser. It doesn't say where it was for on Valentine's Day, but that was for Power School, for initiatives and projects that they do there as well. So it's great to be hosting those kind of events for others that can fundraise for their good causes. In the pool, we see, of course, straight away our JLC team that is still doing very well in the region, and that showcases very good for our upcoming lifeguard competition that we're going to host ourselves. In community services, the Youth Advisory Committee, we are looking for 2 community representatives. We had a lot of youth on board in this committee. We even expanded with terms of reference, the membership of the board. But this case, we are able to get a couple of new youth in there. I was there myself in the presentation of what we are doing as a department. It's very nice to see this engaged youth with great ideas, and not just ideas, they are really making a difference already. And I look forward when they come here to council to present their ideas and ask council, of course, for certain direction to take, because they are an advisory committee, but they have good ideas. So hopefully you will listen to them with an open ear for sure. In the facilities, there's a lot. We are happy that the cold snap is completely over. So we're going back to our more, let's say, regular items in those areas. So we take care of a lot of things that were, let's say, backtracked a little bit with cold snap, but yeah, we are on track with our facilities to maintain them the way we should. If there's any questions, please ask.
Thank you very much for your report. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Sheriff.
The ECDC, how is that looking? How is the progress going?
Thank you for that question, and through the chair. Yeah, so it's looking good. Like I said, the daycare facility can be opened pretty fast. We were waiting for the last items. Sorry, that were pretty specific to be in a daycare facility. So it was a little bit longer wait in that sense when the other things went faster than we expected even. So we are planning and getting ready. Our staff is already packing up a couple of items without that it really impacts their service that they are doing right now at the CTC to go back on a very short and fast notice to the ECDC building. So we'll let the parents know, and hopefully with no, or at least the least amount of interruption.
It'll be like another little field trip for them.
It will be hopefully another aha erlebnis.
Yeah, right?
Back in their old.
They'll be so
facility.
excited. Well, the staff sure do a fantastic job and everything. So thank you again for this move and adjusting to I guess, the water break so quickly and the move. It's not an easy one, so they did a fabulous job. So make sure you say thank you to all of them. Councillor McGee.
I'm thinking, I've gotten some information back and forth, and even this morning, the curling rink, it's ready. It's clean and washrooms are done. The ice making, according to Kim, Ron Cutting is doing that. And so we're ready to hold these functions in the curling rink.
And thank you for that statement. I didn't hear any questions really into it. So yes, thank you. That's correct. So we did put some extra efforts in there that we normally do in the summertime when we are in the downtime in the curling rink to make sure that we paint it. We did a couple of items that we normally wait. Now, of course, before the two events, and one is straight away happening this Thursday already. So yes, we are ready to host and showcase our facility.
Yeah, and it was a statement, but bearing that in mind that we get to hear the people asking questions about whether we were ready for them, and we see that, and we are, so good.
Yeah, and with that, the extra efforts, do we have, like, when an event like this comes, do we have additional staff that are helping with, the cleanup and maintaining? As Mr. Bowles had mentioned this morning, it's, those expectations are high coming in, and we have an opportunity to highlight and showcase our community as well as our facilities, right? So do we do anything? How do we kind of accommodate for an event like this?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, so we're not totally unfamiliar, of course, with busy weekends when we have the whole facility, multiple items happening at the same time. We are busy. So yes, we have a little bit of opportunity, of course, to get some extra additional staff in. The great thing is that both organizations are, let's say, well underway to support that a lot with their organization and their volunteers. So we put a little bit of extra in there for sure to support that, but it's great to see the cooperation with those organizations as well.
Perfect. And then I believe also this weekend is the skating carnival on Saturday, February 24th. Is that correct, at 4 p.m. as well down at the Omni?
That's a very good question. I didn't see it in the report. There's so much going on. So
I'm hoping I have the
hide it
dates
for
right.
sure.
I'll be going this weekend, so I really hope that it's on.
Then it's going to be a carnival regardless.
If there's no other questions, thank you very much for your report. Up next, we have 11.2 Municipal Department Report. We don't have Shelley, so Wally, if you want to just if there's anything to highlight there.
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff have been working on clearing the following fallen and dead trees in day use areas. Also working on garbage cleanup and parks cleanup throughout the town. Public Works and Parks have been working together to get ready for the Fire and Ice event, which happened on the weekend. That was really well done, really well attended. Arrow and crosswalks counting for paint lines have been ongoing to help better prepare for our line painting activities this spring. RFQs for crack sealing and line painting currently being drafted, should be out before the end of March. Into utilities, administration working on planning our polyaluminum chloride tank cleaning at the water treatment plant. We ran into some challenges with this work due to where to take the chemical solution after the cleaning has been completed. We did have a water break at a residential property that was inside. We were able to find the leak, as the meter read, was substantially higher than normal. Operators could hear water leaking inside the home, and we immediately shut that off. It took us a couple days to get a hold of the homeowner, but we were able to do so. moving into, staff are working on turning the water off at both El Dorado and HW pickup to prepare for the demolition activities. And moving into engineering landfill, gravel trail design for Weyerhaeuser proposed trail from Ivan to the CETC has been completed. Administration has reached out to Weyerhaeuser to set up a meeting to get this project planned. No official date has been decided on yet. Fortis is working with administration on removing danger trees under the power lines at the landfill and the airport. So with that, we're happy to take any questions. Not sure I'll be able to answer them, but we can take them down and get back to council as soon as possible.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Mr. Ferris? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
So under utilities number 4, I received a call on this one in particular, and my question around wipes being flushed down, the toilets. Do we need to communicate that, or it caused an issue obviously, and it's caused issues in the past from what I understand, especially during COVID when there was millions and millions of wipes and people throwing them down their toilets. Do we need to communicate that?
I think that's probably a good idea, through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Clark. There's been large campaigns right across the province, right across the country to educate people on doing that, on not doing that. So we can certainly revisit some of our public education around that, put out a couple of posts because it is a problem.
Go ahead, Councillor McGee.
The gravel trail design for Weyerhaeuser, can we get a copy of that?
Look into that.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, exciting to see that on here and that moving forward. Just a question going back, since we haven't had a whole lot of snow this season, money that was budgeted will be returned to a snow removal reserve?
So usually what happens is that money goes into a reserve. I mean, we still are paying staff and they are doing other works as required, but the snow removal and that the money for contractors typically would sit in a reserve.
At the end of the calendar year? December 2024. Okay, perfect. And then that can just be a carryover to be used against if we get a lot of snow next season. Okay, any other questions? No, okay, I'll move on to council reports. First up, Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. On the 8th, we had the meeting with MLA Andrew Boychenko. I think we all were there discussing about issues that we can work with the province to resolve, as well as having regular meetings with MLA. On the 9th, had the opportunity to go to another community connection event, which is formerly a culture cafe. There were several newcomers there as well from different countries, and it's great to see that there's more and more newcomers choosing Drayton Valley as their home. And from Ukraine to Mexico to Philippines, it's a patchwork of newcomers coming to Drayton Valley. On the 12th, at the Council Workshop for Education and Economic Development for a half a day, and on the 14th, we had our GNP meeting. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to go for another Health Foundation meeting. There we had a presentation from AHS regarding the eSIM lab and how the floor plan for the eSIM lab and the timelines and how they're going to move that forward. It seems like for the first year, they don't need the eSIM lab for the students. It will be more theory than practical on the first year, but by the second year, they will need that eSIM lab. So HS is saying that by 2025 September they should have that all set up in at the hospital. That's what I'm hearing. And also talked about the palliative care unit remodeling floor plan as well. It has been a project that Health Foundation has been working for more than a year with AHS, and they are moving forward slowly but surely. They are getting there. So they are hoping that by July of this year, they can finalize the project and then start constructing, remodeling. So that's the hope of HS as well as the Health Foundation. And we had representatives from Drayton Valley Auxiliary as well there. That's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans.
Here. Yeah, I'm just going to repeat a few things that Councillor Gamana also attended, sat in on the meeting with our MLA, attended the Economic Development Workshop on the 12th, and our governance and priority meeting on February 14th. That's it for me.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Ballas.
Thank you. On the 8th of February, the community safety meeting, and then the meeting with the MLA. On the 9th, Drayton Valley Hospitality and Tourism, and then in the afternoon, refocusing on healthcare. On the 12th, we had the council workshop, and then the 14th, we had GNP, and that's my report.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Sheriffs.
So most of my reports are in the agenda, but like I said for the youth advisory, I said I will update in the council meeting. We are looking for 2 committee members. We have 2. One of them is in university and is having a hard time commuting back and forth, and the other one is moving up north, way up north. So there will be 2 positions open. On February 15th, I was at the Brazil Seniors Foundation meeting, and I did request copies of the housing need assessment, which I handed out to the council and our CAO. And I was wondering if we could maybe have a look through it and have a further discussion on our next council meeting, which I will be at, is March 20th. If we can add that to the agenda and see how we feel about this one, if we want to do our own, or if this one is good enough for us, maybe. And that's about it.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor McGee.
The meeting came the health and safety policies, staff at the library, and sharing some of the safety policies with on the south to CAO and evacuations, muster points, those kinds of things. Sorry, Bill. My mic wasn't on. Talking about the library board, but health and safety policies and sharing those policies and understanding where we all fit around muster points and those kinds of things. And that sort of ties into a question that I have about repairing, I think, and I'll use that word, repairing our relationship with the library board. Over the years, it's really gone to where they are separate entities. And you received in your package, or in a package a few days ago, the agreement, the MOU that we have. And so I think it's imperative that we continue to work together. I think the library board is part of us and is part of our community, so we need to do that. However, we do that through the staff. We can talk about that. We know that we are a landlord, and we know that they are a tenant. We've talked about the washrooms, how we can maybe revamp the washrooms in order to make it easier for folks maybe. And so there's some work to be done. And when we last talked to them on Wednesday, we said you have to go and put a plan together. And I think that's difficult at best with a volunteer board to go put a plan together and say, okay, we're going to change the washrooms. I think we have to work together to try to figure out how we can work on our washroom situation here, our lobby in the library. We talked also about storage. They're going to reduce their books by 25% to give them some room. The council for the county of Brazeau has suggested we purchase a CCAN. And between the two of us, that might end up costing us $2,000 or $3,000. And CCAN can be placed somewhere. We haven't talked about that, but just so you know that that's something that they're going to need is storage. The other thing that's important right now is that we're going to be short board members before the end of this year. And so you may see a request from me saying to reach out to get board members for the library board before our regular time. February 20th, the Healthy Communities Coalition. We have Opportunity Homes is working right now for a night for healing in September. So you'll see more of that coming from us. We have the poverty simulator, which there are a few councillors. Councillor Gomena, I think, is just tentative at this point, but Mayor Dodds and myself are, and Monica are going to be part of that poverty simulator. And I was going to, I don't see Tom Thompson here. He must be still warming up. But the firefighters, I think they would be interested. So we need to try to connect with Tom, and I'll do that to see if they might be interested in being part of that. The other piece is the new youth hub that we have. Visits to the youth hub. It's been quite amazing. The numbers, we've had 85 now town, 10 county, and 10 others, and 37 unique. So the youth hub is really growing quickly. The one issue that they're faced with, which we've talked about here at this table, is their pantry. Kids are coming in hungry, and they're needing to fill the pantry. And so we had a discussion about whether or not they can connect themselves with the food bank, and so that they always have things ready for the kids. But it's amazing how you would even think that kids are coming there hungry and need something to eat. They do. So we'll be paying attention to that. I think that is all for council. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Deputy Clerk.
Yeah, attended the David Thompson Regional Health Authority call the other day. Listened in there. They discussed a bunch of changes to HS that we kind of know about, but they just gave some updates on mental health, continuing care, acute care, primary care. I won't get into the specifics. It's just more appointments of people and rollouts of things they're going to be doing later this year. Attended the community safety meeting. A couple of things to take from that was the Tom Thompson talked about the wildfire public relations campaign. So it's going to be an educational series they're going to be doing, I think, via social media. I think Jen's working with them feverishly on that. It's going to be a bunch of videos, and it's going to be short educational things that are just going to hit people and help them understand what does it mean, pack things for 3 days, right? And kind of, things to think about around that. And then the other thing, one of our CMP folks talked about the new school, the traffic issues and concerns around there, and they've paid special attention to it, and they've really felt that the issues have sort of gone away, and felt that it was sort of a new thing, right? Everybody wanting to take their kids all at once to a new place, and now that people have figured out where to be and how to handle that situation. So other than that, I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. For myself, everything, my council report is in the agenda. In addition, I too attended the David Thompson Alberta Health Services session with Colin. Had an opportunity to hear the updates and what's kind of happening, as well as I had a couple meetings with some nurse practitioners and what that model looks like in Alberta going forward with the changes that have been made and the changes that the Premier is trying to push forward with the 4 new pillars to Alberta Health Services and nurse practitioners and everything around that, as well as I attended the Fire and Ice on the weekend, which was fantastic. Thank you to Eagle Point Blue Rapids, all the volunteers, all the sponsors, everyone who took the plunge. Thank you all. And yeah, just another successful event in the community. It's definitely, Drayton Valley and Brazeau County are definitely communities that when somebody hosts events like this, it brings everybody out and celebrating. And so, yeah, it was a great weekend, a long weekend, and that wraps up my report. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to accept the department and council reports as information? Councillor Gamana, thank you very much for that. And is there a member of council that would like us or would like to move us into closed at 11:07 a.m. under FOIP section 24(1)A? Councillor Sheriffs, thank you very much. All in favor?
In favor.
That is carried. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, okay, there, somebody, we were all muted, I think. So quick. Good job, Wally. Okay, so we are just having a conversation around Pembina Crisis Society, that they'll be moving out, and just bringing you up kind of an update, Bill, and what that looks like for space. We talked about the Public Works Building, CTC, and then there's also the comment of the mind that, is that up to us to figure that out, right? We need that space. We can offer up these and say, these are available if you'd like to use them. I think that's kind of the best in all of what we can do, right?
That's correct.
And given their, I did ask that question about how often are you there? Well, a couple of days, this and that and the other, right? But I thought, okay, is there anything upstairs at all that if we had a spot and it was but they meet with clients, so they don't necessarily have to meet in an office. They can make, okay, you're meeting a client, let me find an empty space within the building. When I thought about the public works, just by, my own mind, I thought that doesn't seem to be the right place for Pembina Crisis Connection and Women's Shelter, because they're now, the next steps for them is to think about a women's shelter in Drayton Valley and preparing to build that. And so there's lots of things, dynamics that happen around that we'll slowly hear about.
Yeah.
But I wondered about whether there was just a spot. I have no idea what's upstairs, but if we're full, we're full. That's the way it is. And you'll have to look after yourself. I did say that I would bring it forward.
And I think, like Wally had said, we're busting at the seams here. And I know just talking to Diane in the past, she wasn't keen on this space here because when a client is coming in, which is very rarely, they're wanting to be discreet about it. So the CTC is a perfect location for that discreetness, right? Like not the town office where you're right at the front. So I think that, and Public Works as well. Yeah, that's discreet. So you want discreet, right?
And they do have 2 offices here, actually, one in the back that they use for storage. And, excuse me, sorry, I was just making sure that wasn't broadcasting out. So they do have 2 offices here, and there's space upstairs, but it's open space, so there's no privacy. Right, and when they meet, they want some of that privacy and discreetness, so we can certainly make an offer for the CETC. I did suggest that, I think I already asked Tricia that maybe she should go talk to the province, see if there's a space over there, yeah. But I don't know what the status of that is. Yeah. So, Mr. Hans, the question was from Councillor Sheriffs about did Humans Helping Humans and the message we got about not sitting on their board, did we reach out to them and ask for some clarification?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, we did reach out. There was no clarification whatsoever on it. So the conversation between Lola and Bob White. So they had a Humans Helping Humans, the foundation side, the housing foundation, so the shelter pot side meeting on Monday. So she had the opportunity to talk to Bob, but nothing was solidified. There was no board meeting even set. But we expressed the fact that any change to their board composition has to be first of all, get a board meeting together and have the invite to our councillors that are appointed to the board as well. Before, let's say, anything is, let's say, just, we call it unilateral, on one side, decided or done. I did not get the impression that it was a very open book about it, so we are still asking them for clarity.
Okay. As far as funding goes, we allocate funding at the beginning of the year and then we just disperse it, right? Between Warming Hearts and shelter pods, all of that, right? Lump sum all at once.
That's correct. We have the provincial funding that we have over those basically three, because we have our own staff member as well on the affordable housing side, and then those two organizations, correct?
Your question is it lump sum or is it dispersed over quarters? I think it depends on how big the grant is that we're providing them. Do you know if we disperse?
Yeah, we disperse it in I think it's quarterly to Humans Helping Humans. So
Okay.
it's in a couple of, let's say, checks done.
So may I suggest next time when you're having conversation with Bob White, charming person, if you can ask if it is just the council presence that they don't want at the committee, or if they do not want to work with town, period, which would mean cutting the funding. They would have to go on their own and apply for it, I assume, right?
Yeah, so what I understood from my first initial conversation with Bob was that basically he expressed his opinion. Council and the connection with the shelter pots is more, let's say, conducive to do it in the shelter pot board, not in the Humans Helping Humans overarching board. So that was at that moment. Since we, of course, financially support the shelter pots specifically, of course, that might have merit, but I think it should be a discussion that they have around their full board table.
Okay. Since Hans is here, I have two more things.
Do you have a question in regards to this topic?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I do understand the argument where helping humans and the shelter pot committee, whatever, right? So it could, is it a subcommittee of, okay, but the agreement is with human helping humans, not the subcommittee. So you can argue, but there's no logic behind the argument. So in the end, what I would say, of course, they can do whatever they want. I don't think we need to fight over it or anything like that. Let them do what they do. But when it comes to the
Lunch is here.
next cycle, we need to have a discussion as a council whether what we're going to do with that, right? So because it looks like they are not willing to work with the council.
I agree, because when we give the money, it's not to shelter, I mean, it goes to shelter pods, but it's through Humans Helping Humans. So the check actually has Humans Helping Humans on it, right? I assume. So it's not like there is no shelter pod committee or, I mean, I don't even know what their plan is or
Yeah,
what they're doing, but.
You're correct. As an entity, of course, it's Humans Helping Humans. The shelter pot is a subcommittee and not an entity that you can write a check to.
Yeah, because it is a significant amount of money. And, you know, honestly, like when the town was running the shelter pods, I don't think it cost us what it's costing them to run the shelter pods, not even half. So questionable. Next one I have for Hans is Thunder. Any response, letter, payment, plan?
Yeah,
Any,
so
any news with their grant application, anything?
no, there's no news, no updates on that. So they received the information that we gave them after the last council's decision, and that's it so far. No update. Yes, they have till March 1st, and that's the timeline they indicated they would get an answer from the province.
Okay, and the third one is the ECDC letter from Kyla Zorn. That whole mishap. Have we decided on how we're gonna keep with it? What are we gonna do? With them out?
I responded to them yesterday, and I don't know if they misread the letter. But given that they've, caused a number of issues over the past, ever since they've been here, we gave them the opportunity to leave, and they've done so. So they've picked up their personal items, and we'll reach out to the next ones on the waiting list and offer them a spot.
Fantastic.
Perfect. That's best news all day, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's good to hear that we don't tolerate people abusing our staff. We have a significant waiting list that I think other families, that won't abuse our staff are more than welcome to use our services. Rick?
Yeah, I was just curious. Was everything she said just made up stuff? Or was there any basis in any of those accusations, like any kernel of truth, or was it just all made up in her head?
I can answer a little bit because my name was on a letter, right? And when she said that, whatever, I was specifically strong opinion about this not being in place. I actually have the messages. I looked them up. So what I was saying is, the rainbow benches are just it, and the kids don't see it as pride, anything else.
Yeah.
The parents mentioned, and that's exactly what I told her. And I said we should just leave the rainbows because kids love rainbows, and yeah, so.
Yeah, and I was
There's
aware
a
of
lot of stuff. Yeah.
I was aware of the bench, but that was it. I was unaware of all the other stuff until 2 days ago when we got the email. And that's the only reason I wanted a short conversation in here. Was just to get a little better handle on all these accusations. Yeah, it was just all made up, or there was was there anything to it that's could come back and bite us in the butt? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, not everything is just made up. Those situations like the internal handling that we had to do with the incident of the vape pen was handled internally. So that's basically that everything that's with that. The other items that she expressed her, let's say, communication or perceived non-communication that she sometimes got from our management. They have been discussed. It's always readdressed. We never held back any information whatsoever. So those items, the things, let's say, in itself happened, but not in the extent or sometimes in the details that she provided. For instance, she quoted me, and I know it was in the paper that I said the 5th of February, which was not stated by me. I went back to the camera items like, wait a minute, I didn't say that. So there's, let's say, over the situation might have been happening, it has been dealt with. A lot of that is operationally, and yeah, there is certain things that she perceives in her view, in her experience. Everybody has the right to do so, but there's also things that were just pertinent, not true, and we did not go into detail replying on those in this stage.
I just wanted to have a little bit of comfort knowing that, yeah, we're not trying to push this off when we do have actual issues. I assume that she had been blowing them out of proportion. There might have been a little something there, but I just wanted to confirm that. That's all. Thank you.
And she's also bullied staff outside of work as well. Oh, no, I guess that you're, yeah, you have to. Just want to be sure. Go ahead, Amila.
Thank you. My question is about information sharing. How do we make sure, it's hard, I know that, every issue doesn't blow out of proportion like this. But there are some issues that come to this, right? Whether the person is nuts, like Colin Rick mentioned, or there may be other instances where it may not be. But how do we keep us informed going forward?
So not really clear on what your question is. If your question is about the incidents that, sorry, I can't remember what her name is, accused of staff, if it's about operational incidents, those, as Helen's indicated, those have been investigated and documented and filed. So we don't share those issues or any HR type of activities with council or the public. And so I think she alluded to the fact that, she complained about this thing and there was previous correspondence back and forth between staff and her that indicated what I just said, that yes, we did look at the incident and it has been dealt with. That's all we say. We don't get into any other level of detail for the public or really for council.
And maybe I can add one thing. I remember with the bench coming up that I did report, let's say, pretty fast at that moment, like, hey, this is a political item. So when we as administration expect something to be, let's say, political pretty fast, then we will share information in council and saying, hey, this adds up, this is happening, or we are dealing with this. Otherwise, it's administrative items. Yeah.
No, I understand that, but the thing is that, excuse my term, we're waiting to when the shit hit the fan, then we get to know about it, right? So that's why, how do we share information to us where, if it is going there, like the bench issue, we didn't know until it was placed. We didn't know until it was an issue. The same with this one as well, right? So that's where when we all get the email, we are surprised that this is happening. Same with the bench. So that's my concern where, I know there's no easy answer to that, but maybe there's more information sharing need to be done. Administrative items, yes. But if there's issue that may blow out of proportion, then it could be something that you need to think of sharing with us before we get surprised with it.
Anybody else? Tom, did you know? Okay, the next one then. Let's go to the next.
If I could add anything, is that recognizing fully that you got some work to do, and if you, as soon as it gets to this table, all of a sudden things start to bubble differently. And so in respect for you and your staff, is that you'd prefer not have it come to this table because it does bubble differently. So we keep it to where it is. It's administrative. I think if I hear Councillor Gamana is just saying, if it looks like, and I heard you on say that it's recognizing that the political issue of the bench, you were on it right away. And so that's the only piece for me is that makes sense. And where it looks like it's gonna, and my point on my email or text was just the plan B in case she blows up in Facebook or something, and we, all of a sudden it's, gee, we gotta shut down ECDC because of this, then we probably should just have noticed that, yeah, it's not stopping here. But you've clearly said stuff has been picked up, changing their spots for their children. And that's where it should stay, by the way.
And I think we have to keep in mind that sometimes we have residents or people in the community where it's one voice and it's a loud, loud voice. And we seem to get all worked up of what are we going to do and how are we going to approach this? And we're like, we're under attack when, we shouldn't, in my opinion, we shouldn't really react over one person because they're either that loud voice or the bully, right? Like, I think that raises concern if it was a dozen people or 20 people, right? All of a sudden coming forward and going, we've got an issue here. And, we seem to jump always when one loud person stirs it up. We question, and it's my opinion. And I think I think it's important, like to your question, that it is being documented when incidents are happening. There's a record of it. So we're protecting our, liability and our backs, right? And then I think that for me, as long as council knows, Facebook is a horrible thing. People go on and there's a handful of them there that slander us on a regular basis. And it is that loud minority, unfortunately, that drags us through the mud. And if we jump every time they do that, then I think we've got really big problems, right? It's just my opinion. Go ahead.
I agree with you for the vast majority of things. In this case, the accusations were pretty extreme. And I just wanted my own peace of mind by understanding a little better what exactly it was. If it was all in her imagination, if it was based on something that actually did happen and she blew it out of proportion, way out of proportion, which seems to be what has happened. There was a minor incident that was handled in-house and she blew it out of proportion. I just didn't have a good understanding of that when I got the email 2 days ago and then the letter, and this is how we're going to handle it. And okay, we're done talking about it. That's all I wanted, was just a little better understanding of what was going on there. So I agree with you. She's in the loud minority by all means, but again, the accusations that were made were pretty out there. It's not like somebody's going nuts over we didn't clear snow on a street or something. It involves kids, and so I just wanted my own peace of mind and have this short conversation just to understand a little better.
That's fair.
So thank you. Yeah, no problem having a conversation with council about that. I'm not sure where, administration didn't shut you down. So I don't know where that was coming from, Councillor Evans, but.
There was no conversations required, but it would have to be in private. Those that we have.
Are you talking about the text message?
And then call and let us know that. Just felt like I was getting shut down there. My question was going to be short-lived, the conversation short.
Okay, well, so I responded to your text because your text was a question. I guess we'll talk about this at council. So, well, we can, I believe was what my response was. I don't see a need. This is a normal operational item. Things like this, I take Councillor Gamana's question or point. I hear that. So should we have notified? I think the interjection point there, Councillor Gamana, would have been, should we have notified council that we're kicking somebody out of the daycare? Well, we weren't. We gave them a warning letter. So they kicked themselves out and, okay, go ahead. To me, it doesn't matter. And in other roles, would this issue rise to council? Probably not. Probably wouldn't be a discussion from where I've come from, but smaller towns, so, point noted. If we're gonna send a note of warning off, typically we keep that confidential. We don't want to embarrass anybody. But if we're gonna send a similar letter off on a similar issue, and we think that the person might stir it up and cause a problem, we can certainly give a heads up to council about that. But I wasn't trying to shut you down. It was, well, to me, the issue's resolved. We've dealt with it. What's to discuss? So as we indicated earlier, the accusations in there have been investigated and they've been documented, and that information was passed on to that client at the time. Was she happy with our response? Doesn't sound like it. Would she be happy with any response? Doesn't sound like it. So if you get the feeling you're being shut down, I'll apologize for that. That wasn't the intent. The intent was, yeah, we're good to move on.
Lunch is here, so I'll call a quick break. And just keep in mind that there is 7 of us and we might not always agree on the same things, right? It's not a matter of shutting down. I think it's when someone voices their opinion, we might not always agree with it, right? That doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation about it, right?
I was looking for.
Okay, we'll break for lunch. Lunch is here at 11:30. There's a few other items. Yeah. Lunch has been here for 20 minutes, so if everyone wants to grab it. Are we requiring Hans for? No, Hans is like, no. We'll come find you, hunt you down and find you if we do. Okay, we're gonna grab lunch, Bill.
So we'll forward this to you right away as well. They tried to send this email yesterday, but ran into problems. Good afternoon. Bob White has advised us that upon your conversation that we should respond via email so this information can be passed along to said counselors. There's 4 H's and an F, so Humans Helping Humans something foundation would like to invite councillors Amelia and alternate Ballas to join the Emergency Shelter Pod Subcommittee as a member if they would be interested. This is the committee that handles day-to-day operations of the emergency shelter pods. You guys already know this?
No, we're just swearing when you're reading it.
You're making fun of my reading ability?
No, we're not making fun of you. We're just swearing at the actual, the content of it. Yeah, just
Okay.
delivering it, not you, but the.
Okay, I've been laughed at before. This is the committee that handles the day-to-day operations of the emergency shelter pods. The meetings are usually every month. Human Helping Humans, HHF, felt this would be a great fit as the town of Drayton Valley are the ones who received the grant operational money, and this would give counselors an informed understanding of how this money is spent and some input into it. The Board of Humans Helping Humans does not have scheduled monthly meetings. The Emergency Shelter Pod Committee does. Human Helping Humans does appreciate that the town of Drayton Valley councilors had interest in becoming a possible board member candidate, but that is in direct conflict of the Human Helping Human policies. Humans Helping Humans must follow their policies and bylaws accordingly and therefore will be declining the said interests. Please feel free to forward this information to counselors Amelia and Ballas. Please let me know if either both counselors are interested in joining the Emergency Shelter Pod Subcommittee, and I'll be happy to add them. So I'll forward that off to council.
So it's interesting that the subcommittees had meetings every month, but no, you haven't been invited to anything? Yeah, no, I don't imagine. Yeah. Yeah, the committee that's been. You mean the committee that's been around for 27 years? With the same term of reference for the last 27, yeah. Anyways, for all we know, this is shady as fuck, so always has been. You just don't ask questions because then you get kicked out, so. That's answered.
Well, so, fairness, when I was there, I said, am I a voting member or not?
Turn your mic.
We have to look at our bylaws. And it turns out, yes, yeah. It's all there. You're a voting member and you're in.
Oh, you're a voting member. After my meeting, I assume, because see what happened was, there was, them taking over the shelter pods, right? We took care of them for a year and a half and they didn't want them. When I had the little conversation with Hack, and that was, before that meeting, Bob took me into that office, and that's when he threatened me that I should vote this way and blah, blah, blah. And I said, not a fucking chance. It's not gonna happen. Anyways, shit went south from there. It was bad. So slamming doors, walking in and out, if you, blah, blah, blah. I know that Bob did the same thing with Lola. But Lola said, yes, she will vote how he wants. Anyways, I said, not a chance. It's not gonna happen. You guys are taking over the pods. So yes, we are voting members. And we are supposed to be at those meetings, and it is Humans Helping Humans, not some subcommittee. So, yeah.
They never had very much.
That's the thing, right? It's just,
We're talking about Humans Helping Humans, Bill. Go ahead.
So as long as you don't ask questions about what's happening, who's running the show, how the finances run, you just sit there quietly and say, yes, sir, no, sir. That's been going on for 20 some years.
And please give us the money.
Please give us the money. That didn't work for, not when he said, somebody your age, your career can be cut with somebody like me. I wish I had a recorder. I wish I had a recorder in that room. It was ugly. It was an ugly fucking meeting. It was yelling, screaming. Hack resigned as a director, I think, after that.
Right after
After
that.
27 years. Because I started asking questions. Anyways, I didn't want anything to do with them after that. But yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't.
Well, I think was part of I can't remember, was part of the response to that is we either have a board member or we either have a council representative or you can kiss the funding goodbye, because that's the whole part of the partnership, right? And it's having a seat at the table. So now they're trying to, I guess, change the terms of reference or the mandate of the committee and create a subcommittee that fits their agenda and doesn't allow council to have a voice at a certain, they just keep changing things. And it's that's not how committees work. Number one, the councillor wasn't present for those changes to make the motion. And two, now they're just here, we'll create a subcommittee. Just makes no sense. Well, I don't know. I'm of the mind, let's remove ourselves and say, good luck finding funding.
We're short on money. We need the money.
We're going to do that. We might as well just get someone else to do it where we have a say at the table. Yeah.
we have till end of the year. I think so. Our agreement is still when? Probably end of the year, right? So.
I would imagine our funding takes them to the end of the year. Sorry, I don't know how.
Yeah,
often
we
get the-
pre-approved the funding. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the end of the year.
Again, this is an important issue in our community. It's just sad that we are doing that, talking about this in this way, right? But in the end, I think let's continue what they're doing now. But after we come to the next decision, we need to have that chat whether we're going to work with them or not.
We seem to sit on a few committees where we're not allowed to voice our opinions or have a vote or say anything, but it's just hand over the check.
That's the next question that I have about Drayton Valley Community Foundation, coming right up.
About what?
The Drayton Valley Community Foundation has a meeting today. I read the agenda. I am the alternate for the committee. However, I was asked not to attend. Suggestion, I can read the email that I got from Rob.
I saw it yesterday, I think.
Oh, no, I got a private email from Rob. Let me just find it. Rob Mulligan. So, hey, Monica, Bill asked me to reach out to you directly. Our February board meeting is going to include enclosed conversations, so a representative from the town will not be necessary this month. Thanks in advance for your willingness to attend. I'm not very liked.
We love you.
I didn't run for council to be liked. So anyways, I read the agenda. There's, I understand there's in camera, but there's a lot of topics that are in like upcoming events and such, right? That the town is involved is that it is on town property, the street party and such. So I don't know. I mean, okay, I don't want to go and I'm not welcome, but it is an issue when the committees are starting to do stuff like that, right? They come here for money and then you say, no, well, this is what happens.
It's a good thing I'm ex
it's
officio
becoming
and I
an
can
issue.
still go tonight because I did get the calendar invite.
Are you going? Because it's at Bob's house, whatever that means.
Bill, did you have anything to add?
No, not really. I've I advised them that I would not be able to attend because I'm not in town. And then I forwarded the email as because I thought the alternate should attend. Then I received a message back saying that the town representative attendance is not required as they were going to go into some closed sessions and plus we're not a non-voting member anyway, but no. You got all
Did
the
you say-
information that I got.
Did you say you are a voting member?
We are a non-voting member.
Non-voting.
Which is okay, but for somebody that keeps coming, a committee that keeps coming for, asks from town, I mean, they do a lot for the community and it's great. It's just not right.
What? Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. I think the only thing I could really do here is review the terms of reference for each committee and see if there's anything in there. We can seek a legal opinion on whether or not they can kick us out of those meetings. I mean, being a non-voting member, still you're there, you're still there as a board member, so not sure what would council like me to do about these, because there's two, right? So there's the Helping Humans issue and the Community Foundation.
I think just,
Those are, sorry to interrupt, those are both external committees. They're not town committees, are they?
yeah, they're external, but the request came from both of those boards for a member of council to sit on them. So I guess the question is the request came from those boards, but yet it is dependent on which counselor sits on those, it appears. So then why should we have council representation when it doesn't work in the favor of the board, or if they feel it doesn't work in the favor of the board, they don't want that representation.
That's what I mean. It seems like and it's gonna maybe sound wrong, but a lot of people are yes people and don't question people. Well, I questioned stuff and This is why we're dealing with humans and humans. And I'm not sure if the community foundation, because from what I understand, after we said no for the second time to the grant, there was some counselors that got some, the ones that voted against it, that got some threatening or unpleasant text messages. I didn't, even though I voted no. So obviously there is some tension between Rob and myself that I don't know about yet, but it doesn't mean that I should be excluded from a meeting that
No.
involves a lot of town events just because somebody doesn't like me.
I don't think it has anything to do with that, Monica, whether it's a personal thing or not. I think it's just the fact that they want this meeting to be enclosed because they're going to be discussing things, from what I understand, in regards to our decision that we've made. And they want to be pretty open about it and just discuss it at just amongst themselves.
I would agree with you, Bill, but I read the agenda. And that's not what's on the agenda for this meeting.
And I would disagree, Bill, because those were pretty quick texts going back and forth, and Monica received that from Rob. I don't think Rob's the only member that sits on that board. So if there's a dozen board members, they made a decision very quick, reached out to one another to make that decision. I think that decision was made solely by Rob in the spur of the moment. So I would request that a letter go to the board so all of the board is made aware of this, the same as Humans Helping Humans, because you might only have one or two board members that are making these decisions. And if we're at the table as a representative, everyone on that board should be able to have a say whether the alternate or whether whoever sits there should be coming. Like, that's why we have organizational committee meetings, right? Is to go and represent the town and to have the voice. And like Monica said, there's an agenda, and a lot of those agenda items would include, or the presence of a counselor would add value. So it's been, the choice has been made by one board member. It looks like how quick the text went out, because there's no way all those board members could have been texted and contacted to say, we don't need the alternate.
I'm going to find the agenda right now just to, so on the agenda, we have Granting Committee, Personal Committee, Investment Committee, Adult Committee, Donor Relation Committee, Government Marketing Committee. Let me see. There we'll be talking about street sign, golf tournament, Kiss the Community, emerging funds, blah, blah, blah. There's pages and pages. I mean, objective 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, DV 100, street party, community dinners, New Year's Eve. There's not one single thing about in-camera conversation. So yeah, it was a quick decision, Bill.
And all previous board meetings haven't been enclosed. We've had a council present for them all.
If you're not a voting member, does that automatically exclude you from in private meetings? I don't see why it would. You may not be able to vote, but yeah, that would be my assumption. I'm just confirming.
To me, on both senses of HHH, and I'm thinking, what do we want to know? We belong to the committees because, as you say, Nancy, that we're, it's helpful. And people come to us to say, would you be on our board? Because it's helpful to hear what you think if we're wanting to move ahead with, say, for instance, EPAC and rebuilding. It's good to have somebody on the board. They're asking that question, right? When it comes to Humans Helping Humans, who they don't meet because there's nothing to meet about. And when I think of the poverty stuff that you were doing, Colin, for a long time, well, that's no longer happening. So the question for me is that, well, what do you want to know? Well, we kind of want to know what's happening with our, how are you managing helping humans? How are you managing? How does it look? And how are the people doing? Are we managing it? We're getting through the winter, and what are we doing next spring? Those are the kinds of things that make good sense that we should have at our table. Regarding the piece with if they're wanting to cut us to shreds because we voted no, well, all right, then we have to be able to say, okay, well, cut us to shreds. I get it. You're not happy. Next, right? So, yeah, I don't know, though. So that's, I think, what we have to decide is that why do we want to be there and what is it that we want to know and is it still useful, right? Because I think we've dropped a couple committees that aren't useful anymore and don't meet.
I agree. I just, like, Drake Valley Community Fund, I love what they do. I actually, the SOS media is the only thing that I was not in support, and it's because of the finances, nothing personal, nothing. It just, we couldn't afford it, right? And for them to turn around like this and behave this way is really unprofessional and uncalled for. And we have supported them, and we've, whether it was in kind or financially, on every single event that they ever had in this town. And I'd love to continue this, but them pouting over $50,000 for not even within a community business that's doing the videos, but that's an external company. It is, right? And we just couldn't do it. It's bullshit that he did that.
Monica, you should not take this personally because they did not even know who the alternate was.
No, I know. I'm not taking it personally. I'm saying overall, it doesn't matter what counselor was the alternate. For them to behave this way is crap, just because.
I'm just looking at the agenda as well, and there's no decision-making on anything to do with the town. They're looking at putting in place a plan and with their objectives on how they can raise additional funds. So there's nothing there in relation to the town. But anyway, it could have been handled better, probably, yes.
What I'm thinking is reading the agenda. Yes, I agree. They are putting forward a plan on how they will do all this, which I'm sure will involve coming in front of town council asking for money.
So do we want to send a letter to both of these committees saying, outlining what the expectations of a counselor are on these boards? And if going forward, we can express that we as council feel that there's value added to sitting on these committees. And sometimes the decisions don't go the way that the board may hope that they go, but it shouldn't reflect upon the position of the counselor that sits on that. And that if they still would like a representative on these boards. And if that's the case, then they should be entitled to come to all the meetings. Board member, whether you're that counselor, you're the alternate. It's not up to the board, it's up to the council that we vote at our organizational for a counselor to sit on the board, and we also vote for an alternate. So the alternate goes in place, and then all of a sudden, the last minute, one person from the board doesn't get to say, no, we don't need you anymore. Whether it's for whatever reasons, but we're still doing our obligation as a counselor and why we have these structure of the committees. Amila, or I'll go
Go ahead.
Wally and Amila.
Happy to send a letter, but I think we should talk about it a little bit more. Because we're making a number of assumptions. From my perspective, we're making a number of assumptions and we probably don't want to do that if we're going to put something in writing. But I'll just leave that there and let you.
Just if I can interject, I totally agree with you, Wally, and if we want to talk to them, let's invite them to our GNP and have a closed session with them.
Yeah, well, that would include the whole board, Bill.
I'm gonna say that, with Community Foundation and or with HHS as well, there's other projects that we are working on. Especially with Community Foundation, we are working on that street naming project, which is gonna be huge for our community. And I don't know if Rob knows or, put that into perspective, that we are going forward, it would be beneficial to work together rather than do what we are doing now. There's no intention for me to pick a fight with any of these. These are great community organizations. I'll let them do what they're doing, but they just need to let us know whether they need one of us to sit there or not, right? And if they want to just do their thing and continue what they're doing, that's okay. then let us know that, right? There's a procedure that you need to follow if to changing the terms of reference for HHH, where they need to vote on that and then send a letter saying, oh, we don't need a counselor sitting there anymore. And same with community foundation. If community foundation thinks that they don't need a counselor sitting there, that's totally fine. They, like Monica said, they're a great organization. They've done wonders for our community. But just let us know that, no, we don't need a counselor there, right? So then we'll move on.
And I think that
Like
it's
you said,
important for all of the board members to know, though. I think you have one voice speaking for the board. On both cases, you've got Bob and Rob. So how do you let the other members know, right, that we're not upset, we just like a little bit clearer direction in that? Are they aware of that?
Well, I'm sort of where Wally's at in that sense of, if you start putting things in writing and you are picking a fight. And is this a fight that we need? Do we need to die on a hill here at this point? I'm not sure that we, I think personally, I think if we just said, okay, we get it, let's let it be, right? There's no real reason why HHH, something will come up, we'll get to a meeting, and it's not a big deal. But if you start firing a letter back and forth about who is doing what, when you're not actually at the table, because I was at the table and it was one meeting, I think, and I think I got to vote. I don't know, but it wasn't a big deal. So for Community Foundation, it's slightly different because they put in $350,000 a year from that foundation into our community, and they're regularly out there. So they are a great resource. So I don't see that it makes any sense to struggle with them either. They are who they are, and Rob runs it. We know that. I mean, it's not as if that's a secret. That's Rob and others that are there, right? They do that. And it's a wonderful committee for our community. And so, yeah, maybe we just need to just let it die and slow death and let it be. That's from a guy that's he doesn't want to climb the hill. He's trying to make some peace.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with us in a letter stating what you just said. We appreciate everything that they do in the community, et cetera, et cetera. We're just seeking clarification on the standing of council members within your board. It recently came to our attention that the alternate was asked not to attend a board meeting. It looks like the agenda had things that should be discussed or that the town should be part of. We're seeking clarification on what standing exactly does a counselor on your board have, and where do you wish this to go in the future? I don't think we need to come in hard and start accusing them of things and this and that. We're simply seeking clarification on where they see our role within their organization. Does that seem reasonable without being threatening or anything like that? If we were going to write a letter, I think that's the way I would do it, just to see what their response
Yeah, what
is.
value does having a counselor add? We'd like to have a say at the table as we feel the community,
Yeah.
that brings amazing
Nothing wrong
events
with,
and, yeah, to the community. So
yeah.
we'd like to continue to be part of that. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a hard negative. We can say we're both, both groups are looking to accomplish the same thing. Improve our community. And you've done it for years. We're very thankful. We still want to be part of that, but we're wondering where we stand after the recent request not to have a counselor at a meeting, which seemed to cover a lot of things that the town we feel we should be part of.
I mean, when I was part of that committee, they stopped inviting me after I questioned them openly in the council meeting. So I didn't go for a couple of months until they needed something and they invited me again. So they're very on again, off again. And I'm not going to get too hyped up about this. I don't think, like, they asked us not to come to one meeting. They didn't say stop coming, right? So if they want us on there, great. If not, I guess we just go when we're invited. Doesn't particularly matter to me. We are non-voting, so I mean, our impact there is minimal anyway, I think, in terms of, in the immediate sense. I mean, we can help them. They can ask us questions at those meetings. We can come back to council and advocate those sorts of things. But otherwise, I mean, they seem to have fragile ego. So I wouldn't put too much stock in it, to be honest with you. And Triple H is a different story. They asked us to not come anymore. I think two distinct things. So
I agree in a sense with what everybody's saying. It just, like you said, once you ask something in the council meeting, you stop being invited. And in my opinion, that is not right in any way, because that's why you have a board. You're supposed to ask questions, get answers, get clarity, and understand how things run. And once, one or two people in the committee don't like the questions that are being asked, and all of a sudden shit hits the fan and you're not on board anymore, and we're not going to invite you anymore, and you're not going to know what's happening. That's not how it works. It's supposed, we're all adults. We're supposed to have a conversation and just, step out of the office, move on with your day, and come back and have a fight again. This is not right, no matter how you look at it. Like, I love Drayton Valley Community Foundation and what they do, but it doesn't matter if it was me or anybody else looking at the agenda. If it said in camera meeting, blah, 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 we'd rather have this to ourselves. Sure, whatever, I don't care. Do your thing, right? But looking at agenda and what they will be talking about, and then have them just come out and ask for money 2 months from now because they decided on whatever, voting or not voting, we should know what is going on before we actually commit money to them, right? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Looking at the agenda, there's really no decision-making. It's objectives that they're looking at. And if it's going to be something that's going to involve the town, I'm sure it'll come down the road. But anyway, I think we've kicked that long enough. There is another email from Humans Asking Humans, or Humans Helping Humans. Have you guys received that?
Yeah, I don't think you were on yet. Wally had read that to us, Bill.
Oh, okay. So why are we still saying that they're not requesting?
Oh, because they've created a subcommittee now where they don't want a counselor to sit on
And
the,
they just want those counselors on the subcommittee.
yeah.
And that's you and me.
Okay, I got it.
I'll go to
Okay.
Amela.
Thank you.
So here's the thing, like I said, I have no problem Community Foundation or the HHS continuing, and they should. But it's just that it seems that, we want Tom there, we want Bill there. No, don't send anybody else there, right? That's where I think the issue is. If that's the case, then just let us know that, right? We love Bill. We would like to have Bill there, but don't send anybody else. Or we love Tom there, and then have Tom there and nobody else. So then we are still working with them, and
But the thing is,
we are not.
that goes back to why we have organizational and we have committees. Like, you're supposed to rotate, you're supposed to understand when requests come in for committees, it's so you understand what these organizations and groups do in our community. You sit there, you bring value, you add a voice to the table, whether they like you or not. I've sat on committees where I don't like people and they don't like me. It's where you put on your big boy or big girl pants and you're there to do your job and you leave at the end of the meeting. It's very childish and it's very unprofessional to act in the way that's been acted upon it. It's like, yes, there are going to be decisions and choices that may not go one way in favor. Like, unfortunately, we get to be the bad guys at this table, that we don't have the money all the time. We can't say yes all the time, but it shouldn't reflect on our voice at the table or where we sit. At the end of the day, we are counselors. This is our job. It's part of our job. And then we're letting committees tell us which part of our jobs we get to do and which we don't do, and what value we can and we cannot bring. So at the organizational, when we have our review, we need to look at these committees and think, do we want a seat at the table? Yes, they've requested it, but it also is a reflection of us. Do we actually want to sit there? Because it is that we want you there, we don't want you there, maybe sometimes, maybe. So you know, whoever's making those decisions, shame on you, because that's not why you asked for a representative from the town. It was because you wanted to be able to have those ideas, those events, those things pushed up through the town. We are the voice. We are the voice that drives to administration. We are the voice that says, hey, we're going to need a roadblock to shut the street down. Can we get that? Hey, they're looking at funding for this, or they're looking at a space. That's our job. If we don't have the ability to do that, then why are we at the table, period?
Having said that, my comment still stands. I think we still need to work with these committees, and if they would like to work with particular council, I have no problem, like I said, right? Because these are great committees that we need to work with. So if
Honestly,
that's the
Kim-
case, let us know, and then we will make that adjustments in our organizational committee structure, right? And then move on. And like I said, I've gladly stepped down and have Tom there. There's no
Okay, so are you of the mind to send a letter? A gentle letter? Okay. No fighting. I don't think anybody wants to be starting a pissing match back and forth. I think it's to get the clarity of what the role is, and I think there's a consensus on that, like Rick had said, right? It's just that clarity and
Yeah, and I guess in the end, they have the opportunity to respond and say, this is the way we're structuring it. You can expect to miss every third or fourth meeting while we have an enclosed meeting
Yeah.
or something
yeah,
like
let
that.
us know.
Like it is a little fishy that all of a sudden, oh, no, we don't need you there. And I worry you're going to run out of committees.
Rick, I will not cry over that.
And can we ensure that when the letters go out, that they go to every board member, not just whoever the chair is?
If we have the list of board members, we can certainly do that. Who's the letter coming from? You or me? From all of council?
Well, first of all, I'm not in favor of a letter, so don't put my name in there.
Yeah, so that one.
Yeah.
Bill,
So,
can I ask why you're not in favor of that letter?
Certainly, I think I've already stated my reasons. I think we should, if we want to speak with them, then let's speak with them personally. There's no need to send a letter. This is not something that they've done on a continual basis. It happened in one time. And if that's going to be our reaction, I think we're overreacting. Let's settle down. Let's take some time.
And this is why they want you on board.
This is no need for this.
what would you think, Wally, that from administration, just to get clarity, or? Okay. And that way, because it could come as a target. If it comes from me, it'll come from me. And I guess too, a lot of times I sign the letters, whether I agree with the letters or not, right? So same as with council, you might vote 4-3 or 5-2, and it still goes as a whole, right? That's the whole terrible part of the job that we have to do. So maybe just a gentle letter from administration, if you can share with us, like I think it is, to highlight the value that they bring, and we just need some clarity on what that looks like going forward.
Yeah, we can do that. And we can send it to all the board. You know, if you send it to all the board, it's kind of like a shot across the bow. I wonder if you just send it to the executive, that may be perceived a little nicer. The other thing is to get a legal opinion. So, and maybe we don't need one. I'm not too familiar with the interaction of boards and councils, but are they allowed to kick you off? That'd be like if we provide funding to them, and maybe there's something in their constitution that they have to have representation. So humans helping humans is a little bit different, but this one, I don't know how much we fund them on an annual basis, but I think it's substantial, is it not? So there may be a requirement there. So I can draft up a letter, and just asking for clarification. So I think let's deal with them separately. So the Community Foundation one, I think, we can, if I can get the terms of reference and all that stuff, I'll get a legal opinion on it. I think that's probably money well spent if other boards are going to be doing something similar. And craft up a letter of clarification. Maybe I'll have Rick send me the stuff to put. No, we'll craft up a letter just asking, hey, just looking for a little clarification as to what's going on. Is it going to be on a continual basis? So we'll write something up if that's what all of council wants to do, because we have one dissent, right? So you will have to kind of give me that direction as a whole. Yeah.
A wink or a nod or a, yeah. 6.
So letter clarification to both.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
MCA.
Yeah, just looking at our organizational structure and wondering, yeah.
So HHH, they've counter offered something to us, right? So are we gonna address that on the letter?
What? Sorry?
Humans Helping Humans has counter offered the subcommittee, so he's saying, are we going to address that?
Why would you?
But that's the thing. The agreement is with Humans Helping Humans.
Exactly.
What they're
It's not
saying
with the
is-
subcommittee.
Keep paying for our shelter pods, but we don't want you around.
So,
You reached out and said here a while back saying, we've never even had a meeting. They haven't had a meeting. So we either get nothing or we say, okay, well, you're doing a subcommittee. At least what we want to know is how you doing. And once a month we meet and talk about how we're doing. It's called a subcommittee.
if you want to fall for that, Tom, go ahead. I'm not voting for that.
Meeting because they decided to have a subcommittee. When was that decided?
I don't know, but.
What do you think, Wally? So we know one letter. What do you think that we should do with the Humans Helping Humans letter? Maybe you could draft something and come up with something and then just let us read it and we could close this conversation.
No one went to one meeting. One meeting and I was the guy.
But obviously they had a meeting.
One meeting. Oh, what does that mean? It means nothing. But if there's a meeting where they're gonna meet once a month, they're gonna tell you what's going on. That's a big part of it. And I'm talking. Yeah, they're creating a subcommittee just because they want to.
And in the email that we just got today from Humans Helping Humans, it says that they've had meetings every month, right? It says it right there. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's what you read. None of the council were invited to any of the monthly meetings, and the subcommittee was decided at one of those meetings that none of the councilors were invited to. Yet they're trying to say that they don't meet often enough to have council on board. And this is the kind of bullshit you call them out on face to face, and yeah.
Well, yeah, we know there was a meeting held to decide that there needed to be a subcommittee. So obviously,
So with Humans Helping Humans, yeah, they say they don't meet on a regular basis, but the subcommittee does. Meet monthly, it says. Don't know. But Humans Helping Humans further indicate that the counselors becoming a board member is in direct conflict with their policies.
from being a voting member on board and providing the finances for the shelter pods organization, like all of a sudden it's against their policy to have one of us on board? When was that decided?
I-
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I can't.
This is the shady shit you're gonna deal with, Wally. Good luck. Have fun.
Can't take it straight. I can't bear bullshit. That's all, right? Tell me you need to be or you don't need to be. And I will just step away, like I said. But don't bullshit me saying, you this and that, right? So.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this one up and we're going to move on to the next item. Who's got on their list? Wally's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. We're going to,
So I'm writing 2 letters?
sure.
Okay.
Oh, it's me again. I want to talk about the Hemp Alliance Conference. And I'll need a little bit of clarification because we were silver sponsors with big promises, and here we are at the council meeting while we paid over $2,000 to be at the conference. Bill? Do you know what happened there? Why we never got the agenda? Our names were not on the list for the tour today? Like none of that happened.
I have no idea. Guess you have to talk to Corey.
I shall do that tomorrow then. Yeah, so we became the silver sponsors for the Hemp Alliance Conference in Nisku. We were supposed to be there today from 8 in the morning. There was tours going somewhere, bus tours. Apparently, our names were not on the list. There was no more available spaces for the tour. We can go to the cocktail hour tonight, which I'm just going to pass on. Tomorrow, there's a little bit of conference meetings throughout the day, and on Friday from, I think, like 8 till about noon. And that's it.
Did we pay them the $2,500?
Yeah, we did. And Drayton Valley did get a spot on the agenda, except we didn't get the agenda until yesterday evening. So we didn't even know what's happening and what's going on and where we're at.
Included.
Yeah, I know. It just and I guess Corey he's the executive director. I'd like some clarification on why, and how does their sponsorship work if this is how? Yeah.
Is he the executive director, Bill, or president of the association, or I don't even know?
Corey is now the executive director of the association. And president, I believe. If there's conversation going on, I can't hear nothing.
I would suggest that when you attend tomorrow and you see Corey, you let him know how dissatisfied council is with how you've been treated as a sponsor.
I'm not sure I want to take that risk just yet, because it doesn't turn out very well when I speak up.
Okay, do we have anything else? Yeah, yeah, just what did the package include? Yeah. Did it include part of the conference? Okay. Good point, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get what we were promised when we signed up for the silver sponsorship, but you know, do we just take it as we now have
Learning
experience and not bother next year? Just let them know when they come asking, listen, this is what we got last year. You see the same thing happening this year. No, thanks. Look for somebody else.
I'm okay with either or. I just wanted to let the rest of the council know why Lance here are here today, not at the conference.
Camilla? Colin?
I was just gonna say, I think we should get our money back. Ask for it back, $500. We should ask for our money back, $2,500. We paid them, we didn't get anything for it.
So on top of that, with the whole conference, I think Kundi and Maryland already purchased tickets, right?
Yeah.
And then came the option of being a silver sponsor, which was additional $2,500. So all in all, Kundi and Maryland also didn't receive an agenda, or there was no room on the buses for them for today's tours either. So I'm not sure what they
They
paid
didn't get an
for.
agenda, they got nothing.
They got nothing, we got nothing. So overall, it's probably closer to $3,000 for the whole conference. I'm guessing. I'm not sure. I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea how it got paid. It's a mess.
Sounds like the conference is poorly organized, so. Okay.
Amila?
Can I change the topic?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a no. I really don't care at this point.
No, what's done is done, so let's move on.
It would, yeah, it would be fun,
Asking
but
for money back, would that mean we wouldn't be going tomorrow? Or if we go tomorrow,
we wouldn't be going. My only thing is the reason why, in my opinion, why I said yes to the sponsorship is because the town of Drayton Valley and the Alberta Hemp Alliance in partnership applied for a grant for BCG, and that's exactly why. So it's a shame that we weren't recognized, and, you know, when we kindly responded so quickly to being the silver sponsor because of that we weren't added to the list of invitees and part of the conference package. So I think just express our disappointment to say, hey, what happened? You know, and yeah, like you said, but for me, it's like next time, probably won't consider it, right? We're trying, my thing is supporting Dan, and which is very important, right? So I don't want this to overshadow that. Like I think Wally said, it poorly planned, right? And if you've got sponsors, you know, that are giving you money, they should have been at the top of your list, ensuring that they had a seat at the table and were included, right? Especially when you're in partnership in a grant as well to one of the biggest manufacturers of hemp, right, in North America. Camilla?
Okay, I'm gonna change the topic and talk about UNESCO. Did we figure out UNESCO thing and why it's there?
I believe Jen Stone has sent an email to all of council explaining that. Sorry, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
When was that sent? I maybe missed.
Did she send it to all of council?
I haven't seen anything.
Oh, it's just to me. Sorry.
Because I believe, Bill, you got an email as well, right?
From Jen?
No.
No, from a community member.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah. Mhm. So that's what I'm saying. So we need to put something out, at least respond to these people.
Yeah, so last week you brought it to my attention and I told you I'd have to wait till Jen got back. So she's back yesterday.
Right.
And she has sent me this information. Try to keep this brief. I'll forward this to council. But
That's nice.
I just, well,
You.
so I haven't read this yet, but here you go if you want it that quickly.
No, it's on the TV, so remote. You need the remote. Yeah. Oh. No, it's on the TV. 115 seconds we have.
Bill, we might lose you. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
200 seconds, so we're good for a little bit.
It's not working.
I think, Bill, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, we have 200 seconds before you power off.
Talk fast.
Okay, so
So-
that's left with Jen. So Jen just got back, so I don't think we'll find that out until she has some time to work through her agenda or her things on her desk. Do you have anything
Yeah.
else?
I have another one. So, emergency preparedness. I would like to know, we got the report out and all of that, what happened, but what are we doing going forward for the next round, right? So I would like to have a debrief on how much we are prepared and what we've done since.
Sorry, what are you?
Wildfire. Wildfire. So the
Wildfire,
wildfire
emergency preparedness?
Okay.
So I would like to know that, these are the things that we've done so far. I know in March, there's a public session that's coming up, I believe, something.
Right, so we provided some key information in the project status reports at the last council meeting, so you would have that in there. There's detail in there. I would encourage you to read that if you haven't. There's the consultant has been selected. Same consultant that is helping out Red Deer or Brazeau County. And we're scheduling training. So I believe I saw an email yesterday talking about the training for council. Can't remember exactly what it said, but it's that ICS 400 training. So that is, they're working on that. I think you'll probably see an email in your inbox coming out in the next day or so, trying to find some dates. The emergency plan is being updated. We've had the kickoff meeting with the contractor. There's public education going out in a number of forms. There's training for water haulers and what they call dozer boss. It's a bad name. But that training is throughout the county and in the town. I think the one for specific being held at the not the Omniplex, no, Omniplex, Mackenzie Center, I think, is coming up in March. There is a date for that. And that's been posted and advertised, as well as the wildfire preparedness for the public. So what does three, when you have to, you get the message of, you're going to be evacuated, packed for 3 days. What does that mean? There was a lot of confusion over that. And there's, wildfire preparedness videos that are being sent out every Monday. So anything else you would like to know? Staff will be busy. There's a lot of staff that require training, including myself. My training is mainly in BC and 10 years ago, so I've got to update that. So over the next 5-6 weeks, is our primary focus.
Right, so I guess, yes, all that is excellent, more training and all that for council, but I'm more worried about the connections that we are making with province. If there's another wildfire that's coming on, let's say, May of this year, what are we going to do differently from the last one? Have we made those connections with the province and provincial emergency departments? And do we have a list of contractors that, all trained and good to go by then, if not already? And, are we prepared in that sense to fight the fire?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Councillor. So yes,
Okay.
Tom and the fire guys have relationships with the emergency management folks from the province for sure. I've talked about the contractor training, and sorry, I did forget to talk about, we call it training. We really should be more called an orientation session. So how do you do business with the town if you want to help out? So those are going on with with a number of businesses around town and the county. And our emergency plan is being updated and submitted for compliance with the province. So yes.
Okay, sounds good. If you're saying.
Tom? Did you have something?
Add to the wildfire piece, the Healthy Communities Coalition, we're in the midst of having conversations with the fire department. Then we had the fire, and so they would want to be part of a community response. In other words, what would have happened if we'd evacuated when the kids were in school? School buses wouldn't have been, all of those things. So I guess the community through the Healthy Community Coalition would like to be at some point, have some information to have them feel confident that not as the HCC, but as the community. How do you get the community? And the second part of that would be is that the anniversary is coming up, and they tell me that anniversaries of these types of things, for some, can be really a hard thing, right? Whether they have PTSD or those kinds of things, I don't know. But so just so that we're aware, those are two things that around that. So there's no question there. It's just more just to be involved. And so the piece for me is rec board and public members. Have we settled that? The second piece was the EPAC. I know that EPAC had asked us if we wanted to sit on the board. Are we bringing that back through somewhere?
I think the request was for a letter to come
Okay,
from
so we
them.
need to get something.
Yeah,
Street.
if they want.
Yeah, that's it for me.
And if they have just a chosen council that wants to sit on that. Who do you not want to sit on that? Yeah. Okay. You're done? Well, his head's just like, ooh, yeah, you go ahead.
So not sure, well, let me answer the second one. So rec board, public members, council's decided that we want public members on the rec board. that is your decision. I think with the county, it was held up. They went to second reading. They had their differences for whatever reason, so I think they're revisiting that. So I don't think that has been decided from the county yet. With respect to the Healthy Community Coalition, they want to be involved. Sure, they can get involved, just they can have the contractor orientation training. They can, be involved in some of that stuff if they wish. I'm not, you want us to reach out directly to them or no?
The
Okay,
fire department through Camel, working with them 2 years ago as a fire department.
Right.
How and what.
So there's lots of opportunity for input from businesses, corporations, and individuals. If they want to get involved, there's lots of opportunity for intake on that through social media. And I'm assuming our website will have some of that information as well.
Good.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, and I think that would end up being part of the plan, would it not, Wally? Because I in the past, I've had evacuation plans and then livestock, how to evacuate livestock. So if the structure is still the same within the emergency response manual, as it was a few years ago, I'm assuming, Karen, then that scenario, evacuation of the schools and students, will have a plan within that emergency management manual. And I think once the contractor has completed that, there will be a section that could actually just be pulled out, given to HCC. This is how we're planning to do it. And then they could possibly figure out how they can assist with that plan. And I think, even if they want to get a hold of Tom or just send him an email, can you use some of our input for the emergency management plan? Then he can make that decision or get their input and forward that to the contractor. Because that who's building emergency management plan, because there should be a section in there for such a scenario. And there's no reason why they couldn't have a copy of that section of it so they know what the plan is and how maybe they can assist. Is that reasonable, Wally?
That's reasonable, and I think you're bang on. We would certainly, our role is the development of the evacuation plan. We wouldn't just like these guys, they have their own emergency plan, so would the schools. So how the schools evacuate and where they go and what they do, they have their own plan. And they would certainly be interested in our evacuation plan because it identifies routes and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Sure, go ahead.
Buddy, up too long. The meeting with the MLA tomorrow.
Yeah.
We
So,
pushed for it and I don't think anybody's going to be
what do you
attending.
mean the minister?
So, yeah.
We didn't push for it. That wasn't us. That was, I don't know who that was. It wasn't us, though. Yeah, it was the MLA, I think Andrew, and that's why we're like, shouldn't we have known or shouldn't we have had?
I kept thinking we were pushing for it. And
No.
then finally they found some time for
No,
us. And
that
okay,
wasn't
well,
us at all.
So, yeah, we did from the ECDC side, but he has no longer has anything to do with early childcare, so it's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what he wants to do is go and look at stuff that's not associated with the town. So I'm planning on being there for a portion of it up until about noon, and I got to take off. So yeah, and you're planning on being there. The council session, yes, is at 2, I think, or 1 to 2. Yeah.
1 to 2, eh?
Yeah.
1 to 2. But I've got the powerhouse
Yeah, you've got that one. What
opening at
time?
2.
Oh, yeah.
at 2. So, you
Yeah.
know, I could come for half an hour or something and then,
Yeah. But there's nothing really on the agenda like for,
yeah.
it's unfortunate.
I was just worried that we had been pushing to find some
No.
time and then all of a sudden
And-
they found it.
And we weren't really pushing, that was Burness, so I don't even know if that letter got signed, because I think we had said they're pretty busy, like the ministers, let's wait till the new year, and then all of a sudden that was Andrew, right? Arranging that again, that we had no idea.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got no issue with not showing up. And is that going to screw things up for you guys?
I'm not sure. Colin is going to be there. Yeah, Colin will be there.
Oh, okay, for the part of the tour and
Yeah.
stuff that they're going about? Okay.
I mean, I have 10:30 as possible. Just not sure what our questions might be, what we can obtain. Table from two council. Are we serving lunch for that?
I'm just thinking if nobody's going to be there from 1 to 2, do we want to just let them know they can do something else? Okay, okay,
And
fair
what are you
enough,
guys gonna
fair enough.
talk,
I
what are you
just
gonna
didn't see
talk
anybody.
about?
For you kids. Along with your.
An hour is a piece of cake for Tom. There'll be.
Is there anything that fits into our portfolio that we want to drive
What
up?
does that mean?
What is all under his portfolio?
It's a good question. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, let me see. Minister of Children and Family Services? Is that, yeah, so,
Maybe we can ask him to find space for Pembina Crisis Office.
I'm just, yeah, I don't think there's anything that really that.
That's all you talk about. If not, give it to you.
Yeah.
Just get there.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, for domestic violence.
Well, and that's why PCCS would probably be good because they're working with that Prairie Rose at Rocky Mountain House.
Are they part of the tours?
That's why Wally was saying it'd be
Okay.
a good group to connect to them.
Okay, yeah, sure. It's a good topic. Okay,
That's all I can.
so we're covered for tomorrow. You are going to be at the ribbon cutting. You will be with, you guys are the ministers. Monica and I will be seeing if we get the broom closet at the conference maybe, or somewhere in the parking lot. You guys aren't allowed. That's what I'm waiting for. Especially now because we have a leaky boat in council, so I'm sure that they already know that we're coming tomorrow. Oh, yeah. After all of this crap today, I really don't care. I'm like, but there's always this 1 or 2 common denominators with all of these conversations. Yeah,
Things, just the library storage, Tom. Now, at one time, when I was on there, I'd made arrangements to store some of their stuff in the old Public Works building. Now, I'm not saying that's the answer, but that's what we had been looking at. And then Doug kind of pulled away from there and I was going to get him to put everything on a pallet and wrap it. And Public Works was just going to come scoop it up and stick it in the building. I don't know if we want to do that, if there's room available, if that would meet their needs, but it might save them from buying a sea can and trying to find a place to put that. What are your thoughts, Wally? Do you know anything about what's in the old Public Works building right now, or
I know we store our
one or two?
equipment in there during the off season. So right now it's full of lawnmowers and cutters and whatever's in there. I actually haven't been in the building myself, so. And if there's space, don't necessarily have a problem with it. Just that if we ever do get the capacity to go through the process to put that up for sale, then, you know, they have to understand that they have to come and get that out.
Which I would think they'd have a little bit of lead time on that. If we decide we're going to put it up for sale, they probably have a month or two. They could make other arrangements. There's all the stuff that they got stored at like the accountant's Quonset and Doug's garage and. Yeah. I told him we got to get that stuff out of Doug's garage. Anyway, okay. And the last thing, that email that Bill forwarded to us about that woman who's worried we're going to be following the WEF and Klaus Schmidt or whatever his name is, and we're going to go in with Trudeau. That's the same line as the UNESCO? Okay. You want me to just go ahead and respond to that?
Oh, Donna? Oh, so that's Bill.
I'm just going to.
Bill. Okay.
Again, I just forwarded.
Still online, Bill?
I just forwarded council the email from Jen that I have not read yet. So
Online, yeah.
But this was a separate email. It didn't say anything about the UNESCO site. But it's all connected. Okay. I'm just going to tell her to take off her tinfoil hat. Get a grip. No, I'm going to say we have no affiliation.
Just to add a little bit to it, I got a note from Jeanette Vatter, said, "What, I see you guys are signed up." She sent me a text yesterday and I look at it and I'm thinking, oh. So I chased it for like about 5 minutes and I thought, oh. So how it comes around through FCM when we were looking for green energy projects. Just to your point that was made earlier, I said, when Aisha was looking for green energy projects, we were all in. Whatever you can get, we'll, you know, and check on this and check on that one and get our little carburetors going. And it was all great stuff, except that's how they've got us pinned into this. Now we're the get rid of fossil fuels, which isn't at all where we're at, but that's where we're at. And FCM is involved now, and as that list grows, and it will grow, because most communities belong to FCM, you must obviously be part of the thing if you haven't told FCM that you don't want to be. It's either you're in or you're out. And so I think we probably need to say, you know, we've got this problem happening. Can you guys get us off the list? And you might want to chase it through FCM.
The thing is that this is something that we've signed up, the town of Drain Valley signed up in 2015. It's nothing to do with this council, nothing to do with any of us. And just so you know, and the other piece is that this is again a grant or a green initiative or whatever, right? A grant that we signed up for through FCM and all of that. So I don't know, you know, it's one entity that's stirring the pot, and we know who they are, right? So I don't, you know, I agree with Colin's comment last time. I don't think we need to stir it more. We just need to respond to the emails that we received. And then if somebody, you know, I've got a few phone calls, I've said the same thing. In 2015, nothing to do with this council. And it's probably a grant because I didn't know that, you know, what it was about, right, at that time. But to say, you know, UNESCO and that, you know, the conspiracy, it's again, tinfoil hat, right? UNESCO is UNESCO. We know UN and all of that. So if you are against all of the worldly bodies, then so be it, right? I don't think we need to blow it more out of proportion. It was accusing me of against oil and gas, and I was just like, what the hell, right? Like I said, I put my food to my table because of oil and gas. Why would I be against oil and gas? Just
Can't hear you.
But I think the other part of that, Wally, though, is we have a sustainability plan. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, she quoted the.
Yeah, so I think that's where most of this is coming from, is from that sustainability plan. They see 2030 and they go, oh my God, this is associated with World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab's gonna move here and take over. Like,
Maybe I'll just state that was.
Document that was.
Instead of an odd, weird.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with lining up with their targets for.
Yeah. I haven't read it myself. I don't know what it's about. Like, my mom did talk to me about sustainability and like, what does it mean? And I said, well, it's about infrastructure. We have infrastructure to take care of, and this stuff's 70 years old in some cases, and we need to have a plan going forward. And that's what sustainability is. It's wastewater, it's water, it's like, there's more to it than just greenhouse gas emissions and controlling those. It's about being efficient, using less electricity. Like, come on, get your head out of your ass. But anyway, that's.
Read this table I brought tomorrow.
One thing I'd add here, sorry, was just looking at the Hinton side of things here. I did speak to a fella at Hinton at the last AUMA, and he said their affordable housing project was an absolute disaster. So may want to talk to somebody there in the know about that stuff, because they weren't happy with the.
I don't know much about it. I have not even looked at it. I'll be honest with you, haven't had time. So whatever this is, let's look through it, and if we find it useful, then let's use it. If not, let's spend our own money and get one done, because we need it to get any kind of funding for any kind of affordable housing, right? So get this done and over with. I mean, I won't be in the council meeting till March 20th, I think is the next one that I'll be able to attend. So we can talk about it. It's a yay or nay, whatever. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think Lola's gonna come back to us with a session discussing about affordable housing, I believe, right? That's what she said. She's preparing something for our discussion in a latter council meeting. So, that this will be a discussion for all of that in my mind, where we can discuss about our plan going forward, as well as whether we need to do another review for ourselves, or whether, this is good enough. And Rotary has done assessment as well, which is coming to council at some point here as well. Is that good enough, or we need to spend the money ourselves? Or we are just gonna leave it to the province and the private sector to figure it out, right? That's the other option, right? Exactly.
Cody did also request 8 copies of this to take it to Brazil Council. And they do want to talk, well, he wants to present it and he wants to have a conversation with them about it. So for next joint council meeting, might be something to bring up to see if they look through it, what they think about it. And
just see if I can find.
Okay, we try to fix that. Maybe I can just believe. Trying to plan through the world, following any of their suggestions, requirements, own plan, so wide open sustainability, everything from community events to deep recovery to you name it, we'll look at it. I don't know. I lost time. What? He was out of the library for that's great.
So that's coming through the circle committee.
Exactly. I was gonna say.